everyone, and welcome to another video. So I'm back with my cousin, yay! So we're gonna Discord call each other for this, but we're back with another reading challenge, and I'm pretty excited, so hopefully we can actually do this one. We'll probably be trying a 24 reading challenge some other time in the future. That was attempt 1, so we'll be back on that one. But yeah, so I'm here with my cousin, and we have...
don't know if that will ever be possible for me.
That's funny.
I
You
get so
froze.
tired so quick.
You froze in the middle of your yawn.
No, sad day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So I will let you explain the challenge because you're better at explaining book challenges than I am.
Okay. So what we've done is we've compiled a list because I'm sure, as most readers know, it's hard to, we're so used to getting new books when something looks interesting, and our TBR list, to be read list, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to restrict ourselves to just certain books that we think there's a strong possibility of us actually reading this month. But we can't pick anything from that list until, if we want to pick something that's off that list, we have to read the books that are on the list first. So It's there's certain, we have 4 or 5 books that are on the bookshelf for this month that we get to pick from.
Yep.
So.
Yep, basically our TBR list for October, because it's October 1st. So we're actually filming this at the perfect time anyway. I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
And so the books that we're going to try to finish in October. So I know I've got 3.
Yeah.
I have way more than that on my TBR list. I just want to make that known, but I picked out of those the 3 that I want to read the most, basically.
I would say I have the one I'm currently reading that I need to finish, so I don't know if that counts or not. And then I have 3 different ones.
Okay. 3 seems like a good number. I'm still currently rereading A Court of Mist and Fury, so I'd say our current ones don't count. It's the ones we start today, in the challenge, if that makes sense. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although, to be fair, the one that I'm reading is yours, and it's 700 pages, so...
In my defense,
that might take a good chunk. It's probably going to take a good chunk of the month, let's be honest.
She's talking about Immortal, so selfless plug. I'll have a link in the description below.
Yeah.
It's currently on pre-order. Coming out November.
Click the link. Click the
link. Okay, so I am so excited for this book. So this is the first one on my TBR list. Let me get my in better. It is Daughter of the Yellow Dragon by Starzy Davies. And when I started Kickstarter, I started doing Kickstarter swaps, and this was the first one that I swapped with that caught my eye because it's a historical romance, but it's specifically Mongolian history. And my character in Immortal Jace is Mongolian. His people are technically the ancestors of the Mongolians, but same thing, really. And so it just gave me so many Jace vibes and Immortal vibes, and then the art was just so beautiful. So I literally backed the Kickstarter, and I'll probably go find it sometime, but I have a bookmark and some art from this book, and I bought this one. Couldn't afford, they didn't have any ebook tiers because her ebooks are in Kindle Unlimited, which means you can't do it anywhere else. So she couldn't do her Kindle books in the Kickstarter, and I couldn't afford the hardbacks. So I went ahead and grabbed her ebook off Amazon for the first one. So I am so pumped for this book, and I've been waiting a month.
I remember you were talking about it. Yeah, you were talking about it quite a bit. You were super excited about that one.
Yeah, so I've been wanting to read this since August, and it's now October, so I've been waiting 2 months for this book. So that's my first one.
Okay, so the one I'm currently reading, as Joanna already kind of mentioned, is Immortal. So I'm currently, let's see, what page am I on? I'm still in Japan. Mind you, I'm not the biggest Japan fan. I'm not as fanatic as you are. Yeah. So I'm okay, gotta buckle down a little bit because Japan is a chunk. It's a chunk. Not as big of a chunk, I think, as Gladiators. That was a chunk.
That was a chunk.
That was a chunk. But I'm on 252 of 796, so I'm 31% of the way through.
Okay.
So that's the current focus. Okay. So Throne of Glass series, I've read, I don't know what number this is. This is, well, I count Assassin's Blade as book 1. Most people don't because it was written in the middle of the series. But I read it first, and it made me love the main character, the female character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what name to call her, so that's all I'm saying. People that know that know.
Okay.
But I read. Okay, people always said the first couple books are slow, and I would definitely agree with that, specifically compared to Assassin's Blade. But then I got into it around Air of Fire, and then Queen of Shadows. Like those two really kind of picked up. But for some reason, when I read the ACOTAR series, which is another Sarah J. Maas series,
Mm-hmm.
By the time when I got to the third one, what's it called?
In the ACOTAR series, Court of
Yeah,
Wings and Ruin.
Wings and Ruin. I slowed down. My steam kind of hit a halt there, and so I
Yeah.
stopped middle way through that book, and then came
Mm-hmm.
back to it, and then like I sped read the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just me hitting that
That
brick
steam.
wall
Yeah.
that typically happens when I read giant
Series.
multiple book series.
Yeah.
I speed read to the point where I lose interest, and then I'm just kind of like,
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And there are certain characters that, like when I read books, and I've talked to you, Joanne, about this a lot. When I read books, I get really emotional. So like if somebody does something that like I would get angry at in real life, like I get really angry when I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are certain characters that really irritate me, like right off the bat at the beginning, and I'm like, and makes the brick wall even worse to push through. So that's my first one. That's probably more than likely there's like a 90% chance this is the one I'm going to go to next.
Okay.
Because the series is from what people describe, this is their favorite out of the three series that she has.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know why people think this is like the best series.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like that fits because I'm in a ACOTAR mood right now because I finished Court of Silver Flames and like there's just no more. And I'm so withdrawing. Like that helped me get over my withdrawal from Iron Flame because I was like Violet and Xaden from Iron Flame, but then I'm like Nesta.
Onyx Storm comes on January.
And I know, I'm so excited. So that's why I started rereading ACOTAR, and so I feel like Throne of Glass is going to be kind of a good subset. So since you just did a Throne of Glass, Throne of Glass, this is the OG. Honestly, I've had this copy since probably when I was dating my husband. So he had a lot of money at one time. He worked in the oil field. So when we were dating, he spoiled me. We would go to Barnes & Noble all the time back when it was actually open in this town that's like 2 hours away from where we lived. And so at some point I bought this book and it sat on my shelf and it's been on there for years. So this is obviously the OG like cover.
Yeah.
And I paid like nothing for it. Like I'm pretty sure this was like $9.99. So, and now you probably couldn't find one of these covers for that cheap. So Hannah's reading Throne of Glass, and so she's been getting me interested in it.
Just to put it into perspective, a few books down in the series, this one is, I bought this one this year. It's $19 compared to the $9.99 that yours was. Granted, it's smaller. Yeah. So that could be part of the price thing. But
the fun thing is that a lot of the series that I love now and even getting back into reading has all been because of Hannah. So it's like you got me into ACOTAR originally. You got me into Iron Flame or Fourth Wing and all that. So that's exciting. So it's like now I get to read Throne of Glass and stuff.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't much of a reader like earlier on. Like there were certain series that you really liked.
Yeah.
And like then you started writing the books that you wanted to read. And so it just kind of,
I just stopped reading anything but my own books. And it became this cycle where like when I started, professionally, like turning this into a career, I hit kind of like 20 when I started self-publishing and redoing the Valiant, I forgot my own series name. Wow. The Valiant series, when I got the rights back and I started redoing it with like this current one and started editing last year and working with my editor last year, I started reading and it's like, I've heard people say this so many times, like you need to read as an author, like that helps refill your creative juice and all that. And I was like, I don't need to read, I'm fine. But it's just like I didn't find the kind of books that really tickled my fancy, as I like to call it, and now I kind of have, and I'm a reader again, and it feels so good to be a reader again. But that's a whole nother tangent. So yeah, Throne of Glass. So my interesting thing about this that I want to point out in this video is that, like Hannah mentioned, you read the prequel first, that you count as book 1, Assassin's Blade. I'm starting with Throne of Glass, and I want to see the difference in mindset with me not knowing or reading the prequel and starting with this book first. So that's what I'm interested to see what the difference is. And like I said, I'm in an ACOTAR mood right now, so I feel like jumping to another Sarah J. Maas book, this is probably going to be the one that I pick, especially if you're reading.
Because it's a similar writing style, for sure.
And if you're reading another book later in the series, I feel like that's going to be kind of fun to start off the challenge with. So that's my book 2. So, which is probably going to be the one that I start with.
It's kind of like nostalgic a little bit too, because ACOTAR was the book, like I was a couple books ahead, and I was bragging on it to you so much that you picked it up and started reading it. And that was kind of what kickstarted your reading thing, like your reading vibe, And so we would call and we would Discord like these. I wish we would have recorded those, because those were some good times. But we would Discord and chat about our thoughts going through.
Yep.
And so good.
I remember,
and I pushed for so long for you to read the last one, and because the last one's my favorite, Silver Flames, and I pushed so hard for you to read that one, and it took you a while, but you got there.
I'm happy I finished it now. But honestly, going back through ACOTAR really made me nostalgic for those days, and I was like, I remember reading this. I was like so pro Tamlin, like, and now I'm reading it. I'm like, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. It's like, oh my god.
It's a canon event that you just can't avoid. Like, that's just how that works. Like, if a person's reading ACOTAR for the first time, they're going to be a Tamlin fan at the beginning, and they're 100%. Not going to see the red flags that happen.
And I'm like, now I know what Hannah was going through when I was talking about this book the first time I read it. And honestly, skimming through this yesterday, I finished it last night, and I'm going, poor Hannah. Now I know what she had to have been thinking this whole time. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you sweet summer child.
Which I can't remember what book I was on when you started reading it. I think I was in book 2 when you started.
Yeah, and then I think because I caught up to you when you hit that halt in Court of Winds and Ruin. And then I remember I finished that one first, and then I was like, you got to get to the final battle. You got to get to the final battle.
Yeah.
And everything. And then I think I went ahead and kept reading, and then that's when I started Silver Flames and never finished it. I technically started Silver Flames before you did, but I got stuck, and that's when I think you ended up finishing it.
I don't even think you made it to the first chapter. Like, I don't even think you made it through the first chapter.
Nope.
And
I made it to the intervention scene, and after that, when she, I didn't even make it to their first training sequence, I don't think. I was just like, I hate her, I hate her, I hate her.
Well, and I think you were still writing, everyone loves Feyre and Rhys, and, I think you were, you came in expecting another story with that. And so when you started it, realizing that it wasn't Feyre's perspective, I think that threw you off a lot, because that was something like you mentioned earlier on a lot, was that you wanted another Rhys and Feyre book. You wanted more into their relationship and the possibilities of family and all that. And so
and I think that and now coming at it as a standalone is helped me okay, this is Nesta's story, this is Cassian's story. And frankly, now in looking back on it in hindsight, I can't think of an interesting story for Feyre and Rhys, because it's kind of they have their ending, and I'm okay with that. And I feel like I don't know what they would have done, so I feel like Nesta and Cassian was actually the right choice. It's just coming at it from a reader's perspective. I did not know anything about Silver Flame, so nobody told me that it was going to switch perspectives, and that threw me so far.
I'm just not looking forward. I'm not looking forward to Elaine. I'm sorry.
Me either.
That's
honestly,
name,
she's so
Elaine?
Boring. I'm like, what are we going to do? Just be in the garden the whole time?
But that's the thing. She needs her own book to make her not boring. And I hate to say that, but I don't want her with Ezreal. And I know a lot of people are shipping the two of them together.
I feel like he deserves better than Elaine. But
interesting.
I feel like she would be perfect for Tamlin. I want her to go to the Spring Court and Tamlin to be redeemed. She loves the garden. She needs to protect somebody and pamper them. It's perfect.
He's said some pretty horrible things. And I think anytime there's a book's written from a certain character's point of view, you're going to get like a skewed understanding of the opposite character, of like the antagonistic character. And I genuinely think, like from my perspective, and I know some people would like very extremely like disagree with me, but I genuinely think he was trying and he cared, but he's not her mate, so he has no idea, what's truly good for her. And all he could think of is keep her in the castle, keep her safe, keep her away from everything.
Yeah.
That's what he was thinking. And it's like, I can't help but feel for him a little bit, and I do want him to have a redemption arc.
I do too.
Like,
but I feel like
I
think there's trauma with him that we don't
Yeah.
that we probably know, but just don't know that he's coping with it. And I think a lot of it was his own coping mechanisms that just weren't right for her. That he
was clashing with her. Yeah.
Yeah. And now looking back on it, rereading ACOTAR, it mentions, I didn't pick up on this before, but he like mentioned being trained in his father's war camps and not being prepared to like rule. And I'm like, he's been a warrior and kind of a brute, forced onto a
that makes a
leadership
lot of sense.
position.
Yeah.
And so he's just not, and he mentioned several times that he's not good at politics, and that's why he has Lucian around. And I'm like, I never remembered that. And so a lot of it could just be he doesn't do politics very well, and he's not made to rule, and he's just like a beast and a warrior first.
Yeah.
And, Resend made a couple of snide comments to him about that too. So it's like, that kind of adds to it. So I really want him to have a redemption arc. But all right, so you're book 2 in the challenge.
Yeah.
That was a nice ACOTAR tangent.
It was like it's called the Massiverse. The Massiverse. So like Sarah J. Maas.
The Massiverse. Yeah.
Because apparently there's rumor or like Easter eggs that they're all connected somehow, all the series. Yeah. But I have also heard that you need to read the Throne of Glass series and the ACOTAR series in order to understand the Easter eggs in the new series.
Nice.
I have heard that.
So we're going the right direction.
That's my goal at this point. Yeah, we're doing the right order. We gotta get that.
Yeah. I think at this point you and I are committed fully to like reading all the books and like honestly doing this.
I would go, because I've always been the type of person, like I can't tell you like my favorite artist or my favorite whatever. But like I would say this is probably the closest I've come. Her and Rebecca Yarrow with the
Fourth Wing
being like my favorite author. I've never read any of her romance books though, so I can't really truly say that she's like my favorite author. But I would say Sarah J. Maas comes really close to that.
I kind of agree with you on that. So
okay, book 3.
Yep. Oh no, you haven't done your book 2 yet.
Oh, I haven't.
You did Empire. You did Empire Storms.
I thought I did. Okay, so
is that what I think it is? No,
it's book 2.
Oh my god, dude, we're in sync. I did book 1. This is the perfect joke.
So
I just knocked something off.
My book 2 is the book 2 in the Serpent and Wings of Night series, and Joanna's book 3 is book 1. So if you numbers make it confusing. I'm reading the second book. She's gonna read the first book. But I don't want to say a whole lot because I don't want to spoil Joanna's. But is essentially the way I describe. How did I describe it to you? It was like
a vampire Hunger Games, I think.
It was like the, the dark. Is it the Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim?
Yeah,
it's like that. It's that mixed with, but it's not assassins.
Okay,
it's that mixed with, the Thieves Guild. No. It's Dark Brotherhood mixed with the vampires. So you get like Skyrim-y vampires type thing. Yeah. But it also feels like Hunger Games. But it also feels like, I can't remember if she's an adult. I'm thinking she's close-ish.
Okay.
I can't remember her age. But it's adult. It's like it's not, they're not teenagers from what I understand.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Cool.
So, but yeah, it felt like Hunger Games-y with vampires, with royalty.
I'm down for
that's where I got the Skyrim vampires, because there was like a royalty type aspect to that. So I think that's where I was getting that from. But it was really interesting. I'm mad at a certain character at the end of book 1, so that's why I haven't read book 2 yet.
Okay.
I bought it right after I finished it. I bought it before I was finished with book 1, and then I got mad at a certain character. So I kind of...
That'll be fun to talk about when I get there.
Yeah. I kind of not boycotting the second book, but I'm kind of throwing a temper tantrum at the moment, and I'm not reading booktube. But I will. My goal is to actually read it.
Okay.
So, plus I got the hardback has an additional bonus scene.
Ooh, gotta love those.
Speaking of bonus scenes, this is completely off topic, but Fourth Wing has a new paperback that has new Zayden chapters.
Ooh,
and
that's exciting.
It has the dragons on the edges.
I can't justify that, but oh my gosh, I want to.
I know I can't either because I have both of the hardbacks. But it's like they did say that they're going to release the chapters online later this year.
We're totally gonna actually look that up.
We'll get it. Anyway, so yeah, this one, I can't even read you the first line of the synopsis on the back because it gives a major spoiler for book one. Gotcha. So I literally can't say anything. But this is the cover. It looks really pretty. Ignore the ridiculous Target sticker that they refuse to stop putting on the books. Yeah. Even though it was 30% off.
That's nice.
I hate those stickers.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Okay.
All right.
Nice to know we're in sync. So, you guys already know this, but my book 3 is book 1 to the one she just showed. So, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Like, I can't read this title. I don't know. It's very confusingly placed.
It took me so many times, so many tries of like reading over it to be like, the Serpent book. It's Serpent Wing book is what I called it for a hot minute.
That's what I've been calling it.
And it's like, and it's like the whole and the wings and the wing, like the positioning on the cover makes it confusing.
So The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Okay.
Yeah.
We think. Yeah. Okay, we're not
sure.
It's a good. But yeah, like she said, it's kind of like Vampire Hunger Games mixed with Dark Brotherhood, kind of Skyrim-y. So I'm excited, and I do have the audiobook to this. So before my audiobook Audible thing canceled, I had a couple of credits to use up that I wanted to use up before then. So I was like, I've been wanting to read this book, so I went ahead and got the audiobook to it. So yeah, I'll probably listen to the audiobook and go through this at the same time. Because I've started to get spoiled to that. So that's this one. Thought I heard something. So that's my third book in this challenge. So, yeah. Okay. If I can get these done in October.
I probably will get the first, like the current one, and then Empire Storms.
Mm-hmm. I know what book you're holding, and it's one I've been wanting to read.
This is A Fate Inked in Blood. I actually got it. It was my March of this year book of the month before I canceled because I restarted it for a bit because I saw this cover and I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. And so I got book of the month is like a non-sponsored, by the way. It would be cool if they sponsored you. That would be cool. It's like a subscription service for books, and you get a hardback once a month, and it's like $9.99, something like that. But if you check on their websites, many times they have discounts, so you get a month or cheaper.
I'm gonna start looking into that. That's cool. I think it's.
But they now introduced audiobooks too. But this was one I got in March, and it sounded really cool.
It's like Vikings. I've read the blurb and the first little I've seen it at Walmart, and I'm like, man, every time I come to Walmart, that book is calling to me, dude.
So that one's one that possibly. Like I said, it's probably going to take me most of the month to get through Empire Storms. Maybe not. I might hit a moment where I'm like, oh, this is really good, and like read it, because that has happened before.
Yeah. Like I did with Silver
I don't think I'll get to this one this month.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Maybe we can make this, if this works out, we could make this a thing, and maybe that can roll over to November.
I'm totally down for that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that.
Make our own little book club. Okay, Husky wants to come in. Come here. You're not in shot yet. He wants attention. I think he needs
it. You have to boop him.
Boop.
Yes.
He's like, what are you doing, Mama?
Solomon, my Siamese cat at my parents' house, Solomon. He's 12 this year, by the way. Oh, but he allows me one boop a day. Like literally, he will let me boop his nose once, and then if I try to go in and steal a second boop, he will do one of these things, but he won't do it on the first one. So I'll go in and go boop, and then if I try to do it a second time, he's like, "Wait a minute,
you can't do more than one
per day. Back up."
Okay, so got my dog taken care of. So yeah, those are our. Did you do your third one? Yes, it was the Viking one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Fate Inked in Blood. Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, those are our 3. Of course, mine, I have a Kindle one, so it's like just my Kindle, but I can't. Wrong
Yeah,
button.
let's see if I can fan them.
My Kindle's very old. There we go.
It's okay.
I have mine backwards.
They're back. I was gonna say you
It's like
can't
the
have them
thumbnail.
backwards.
Whoopie. Oh no, what have I clicked? Oh no.
Oh.
Oh shoot.
Oh.
Don't go to the middle of the book. I haven't started reading yet. Here we go. I'll get it eventually. It's just so much harder than it looks. Yep. I'm just gonna put in these numbers.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Hopefully there's a thumbnail in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully there is.
Yeah. Like at some point. So yeah, basically for this challenge, I'll probably I don't know how we're gonna do it. We may check in with each other on Discord and film our Discord check-ins.
Yeah.
In the past challenges on my own, I typically just film a little recording, and if I have a thought as I'm reading through the books and stuff. So yeah. But like we said, right now she's reading Immortal, another selfless plug, and I am going to read A Court of Mist and Fury. And what I'm doing with that one, just because I wanted to say this, because I'm not actually filming that, I'm skimming through the book for the boring parts, I'm reading the exciting parts, and then there's certain parts that I want to hear the dramatized audiobook for. And then I'm also reading the recent fanfiction for the scenes that they've written the same scene, but from his perspective.
Yeah.
And so I'll read in the book, Feyre's version of it, and then I'll just skim and read through Rhysand. And I did ACOTAR that way, and it only took me 2 days. So, but Court of Mist and Fury is a little bit bigger. So as soon as I get that done, I think out of the 3 that I talked about, even though I'm most excited for the Mongolian one, I am so excited for Throne of Glass because it's been building up. So that's probably going to be the one that I start with.
Sounds good.
And it is October 1st, in case I forgot to mention that. So we will see. Yeah. We will see.
Yeah. we got a Halloween-y themed one. We have a vampire book.
So that's perfect. Do a Halloween montage of us reading or something sometime. That'd be fun.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah. I know last year Alicia went crazy. She decorated my whole writing nook. If I can find a picture, I'll put it up on the screen real quick. But it was she went all out. There were fake potion bottles, and there was a fake blood thing wound around my lamp. It was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
She's always been really, really artsy and crafty like that.
She also pranked me too. She bought this really giant fake spider and put it on my desk seat. I had PTSD for months. Because when I went to sit down, it was I saw the spider and it looked real because it's fuzzy. It's just really, I screamed to high heaven, and Mom was in on it, and she comes in and she's like, I don't want to kill it. And she grabbed a shoe. I'm like, Mom, you're going to need a bigger shoe. She kind of comes over and she's creeping over. She played along, and then, and then it was fake.
Funny. Yeah, Aunt Rhonda is a good prankster. There's some stories that I could tell from when you guys lived in the apartments that I'm there's some funny stories.
The cheese ball fight is the one I will never forget.
That, yes, and we pelted you in the shower with cheese balls. It was the best thing ever. And it was her idea too. That's the funny part.
I didn't forget that it was her idea.
She's like, yes, she got it. She was her idea. And we had this giant tub of cheese balls, and she's like, here, come here. And she goes into the bathroom, and we pick up handfuls of cheese balls, and we just throw it over the shower curtain.
So all these cheese balls start falling in the shower. I'm just like, oh my gosh, my crazy family. Yeah.
Oh my god. You love us though, to be fair. Yeah, but that's funny. That's a funny one.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
All right. Well, I think that's it for the part 1. I was going to do my outro, but I was like, the challenge isn't over, so we'll probably have some more videos before we get to that part.
Yep.
So, yeah, we will check in with you guys next time when we have something to report. Probably when we actually start reading one of these books, since we're still currently other stuff. So, like I said, I'm kind of excited because the fun part, this one's going to have the audiobook with it. This one is going to be fun because she's 5 books into this series, and I've been wanting to. And it's been on my shelf for way too many years, this poor book. And then, like I said, the Mongolian one was the Kickstarter, so they're kind of unique choices. And we
last minute tips. Last minute tips. Instagram will spoil things for you. I keep getting Kingdom of Ash, which is the last book in the series. I keep getting videos that reference things from that book. And as soon as I see Ash or Kingdom, I swipe. And so I things will be spoiled. So ignore. Instagram is horrible about it.
Right.
Because as soon as you start talking about the series, it's like, oh, you must be 6 books in. Here's the video.
Here's the video
like,
from 6 books later. I get a lot of ACOTAR memes, like funny ACOTAR memes, honestly, on Instagram if I ever get on there. So I think I'm pretty good, but I still try not to.
I've liked all the ACOTAR ones now because I'm kind of in that state of like, I want another ACOTAR book. There's supposed to be 2 more, and I'm like, Sarah, please.
I know.
Please.
I know.
But
I do too.
Yeah, she said ACOTAR is further down her list of things, so I'm like,
we all do it. I hate to say that that's an author thing. Like, I feel bad. Like in mine, it's like the Republic Chronicles has just dropped off the face of the earth. And I've just been working on so many other things. Like I'm supposed to be working on it.
The Dark Magi and Light Magi, right?
I'm supposed to be writing book 4 2 years ago. And I haven't done it. So it happens. We get in the
schedule with that kind of stuff.
when you're balancing different.
You're right when you're inspired to do it. So
and that's the psychological thrillers right now. So that's kind of what I'm writing.
And that's kind of like the fun part of like being like self-published is that like you don't have a company saying, "Hey, we want you to write that." Because I think a lot of like the like published authors, like they almost have to write, like they have to partly. I don't know how true this is, but it seems like sometimes they have to like write to the for the companies, like what the companies like what's selling.
Yeah, for bigger time authors.
With self-published, like if you're inspired to publish something else, you can do that.
Well, I've heard a lot of authors
Granted, there are some downsides of it too.
You should stick with your brand basically. So like what I do is technically what I've heard, not what you're supposed to do, but I want to publish under my own name. So like if I'm going to write like psychological thrillers, that's not actually similar to fantasy or romance or cozy romance at all, but I want it to still be under my name, so I'm not going to do what a lot of self-published they do pen names. They do a lot of pen names.
Rebecca Yarrow does that. Her romance novels are still under her name, but she also has the her fantasy romance series, romantasy, I guess you could call it. I don't know if it would technically be considered romantasy or not, or if it would be more epic fantasy.
It's romance. It's fantasy with a romantic subplot, but yeah.
And
so a lot of I've had a lot of indie authors that like one of my author friends. She, I probably won't name names because I don't know. She's talked about it on social media, but she has this like she writes this fantasy romance, like cozy romance, and she's felt like God was calling her to do something different, and she has more serious things that she needs to talk about and just revise her and revamp her whole series, her whole book. So she felt like God was calling her to just completely rebrand, and so she's going to have a pen name. She's going to rewrite the books and not confine herself to feel like she has to write for a younger audience with like not touching on these serious subjects that she wants to talk about. So So, and one of my other author friends, I only knew her by one of her pen names. I never knew her real name, and she created a second pen name for more politically charged books. We're not friends anymore, but like I only ever knew her pen name, never knew her real name. So a lot of indie authors that in my circles do pen names. If you basically, if you write in a different genre that's starkly different than what you're writing in, you're supposed to do a pen name. But I've heard from readers on the other half of it, they don't like that because they want to be able to find books by that author. And if you do a pen name, they won't know.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah. And so I've heard that they don't like that.
Like, I would almost need to be like on somebody's Discord server where they're working on stuff and would send me links to stuff, because there's a narrator that I've joined her Discord, and but she does like pen names, so she does more spicy stuff, and then she does more like non-spicy stuff, and she has a different pen name for her more spicier stuff, which kind of goes along with what you're saying. But it's like, honestly, like as a reader, like if the author, if it has a different name from the author, I will have no idea. I just won't.
The one that makes sense
I'm gonna look for names that I recognize,
Yeah.
And if it's a name that I've read enough of that person that I recognize the name, but if it's a book that I don't recognize, then I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
I may not even really realize.
The one that makes sense to me is if you're gonna start writing erotica and you don't want people to know that you're writing it. To me,
Yeah,
it makes sense to do a pen name, either to separate that from your cozy stuff
yeah,
or vice versa. I can
yeah,
understand why authors would do that. But that's
yeah.
and a lot of times it could also be because a lot of erotica, like when you're on the promotion side of things, like you're not allowed to promote it in certain areas because obviously like
Mhm.
they're promoting it to teenagers or whatever, and it's like 18 and plus, it's mature
Yeah,
rated, and
yeah,
so you having a pen name to separate that makes more sense. But
yeah,
logically
yeah.
speaking,
That
I can
makes sense.
understand that, even though I don't like the genre or write it, but that's just
Yeah,
how it happens.
that's fair.
So
Yeah,
we will check in
I
with you
know.
guys
Me
when we
too.
start reading and let you guys know how this goes for the month. So yeah, it's just my black Kindle because it's complicated. I'll put that one in the back. There we go. We will hopefully get these books read. So that's
Yes,
our goal for
yes.
October. And we will check in with you guys next time. This is a check-in for me and my cousin's October TBR list. I am not starting off so good. So it's October 4th, and already I have a couple of problems. So problem number one is I was really into re-listening to the ACOTAR series using the dramatized audiobooks thanks to the Court of Silver Flames. So I already did Court of Thorns and Roses, so I was in the middle of, like, not middle, because obviously I'm at the beginning, but I was in the beginning of doing this one when we decided to do the TBR list video. And then I was into that along with reading the Restand fanfiction via my Kindle. And then I randomly got in a mood for one of my own books, which is the Mystic series. It's my vampire romantic suspense series. There's 9 books in the series, and they flopped when I tried to go through a traditional publisher, so I just never really published them. But I really, really love reading them, and when I get into rereading them, I binge them. And I started rereading them a couple years ago, and then I had to edit Rogue and then Immortal and for my clients, and so I never had a break to read them for fun. And so I started book 4 where I left off the last time I did my read through, and I'm on book 5, and I'm really, really into them. Like, I'm almost finished with book 5 because I forgot that as an author I don't have to sit here at my computer. I can make a PDF of my books and send them to my Kindle and then read them. I don't know why I didn't think of that, because I'm doing this read through not to edit them but just to read them for fun. But I'm really into it, and honestly I'm like, let me see if I can pull up I'm almost done with book 5, and then I'll be starting book 6. And this is where I don't remember the series very well. I don't remember books 6 through 9 because I wrote them so fast to finish the series that they're all kind of just a blur. So I'm really into that. So I haven't actually started Throne of Glass or Serpent of Wings and Night or the other one on my Kindle yet. I'm probably going to start Throne of Glass first, but I really need to get those started. So basically I'm trying to speed read through the Mystic series because I think I'm into the Mystic series, which made me fall out of A Court of Mist and Fury. So as soon as I finish reading the Mystic series, I'm going to start Throne of Glass because I was going to bring it to read with me today when we went out, and I didn't because I didn't want to read it. And I think I don't want to read Throne of Glass or this one, The Serpents of Winged and Night, because I'm into the Mystics. I think as soon as I finish it, I'm going to have withdrawal from it, and then Throne of Glass can help me get over the withdrawal, because it's like I had withdrawal from Iron Flame over there, and then Court of Silver Flames helped me get over the withdrawal of Iron Flame, and then Court of Thorns and Roses and Mist and Fury helped me get over my withdrawal from Court of Silver Flames, and the Mist series is helping me get over my withdrawal from Court of Mist and Fury, which I never even finished. Well, I finished it the first time. This is like a read through. So I think when I finish the Mystic series, Throne of Glass can help me get over my withdrawal of that. So it's basically like I read a book, I love the book, I withdraw from it. So I read another book, love that book, get withdrawal from it. And that's currently what is happening. And in my case, I'm having withdrawal, but like my series is 9 books and I'm on book 5. So I just can start the next book. So that's everything. That's my check-in. Yeah, it's October 4th. So I will see you guys next time.
All right. So, currently working on the October TBR type challenge that Joanna and I are working on. Being a middle school teacher, sometimes it's hard to find time to read during the day. So sometimes I'll have like free time, or I'll read in the evenings, or like if I have extra time on my plan time that I've gotten everything done and there's a few minutes left, I may get some time to read a little bit, but usually I don't get a lot of time to read during the day. But wanted to give a quick check-in. So still reading Joanna's book, The Arc version of Immortal, on my Kindle. I am kind of enjoying getting snippets of the main characters throughout the story. I don't want to spoil too much. Currently in the Japan type region at the moment. Couple main struggle. I'm just not very informed on a lot of that kind of stuff, so I don't quite know how to pronounce all the names. And with my history of when I was younger, I didn't really have a good comprehension when I read. That's gotten better as I've gotten older, but sometimes there are certain things that trip me up and names that I don't know how to pronounce, or I have a hard time pronouncing, or I have to work a lot to figure out how to pronounce them. I struggle a lot, so I feel like that's probably the main struggle that I'm at the moment. But I feel like I'm making decent progress considering how little time I actually have to read. So I do want to get through the book, one, so I can kind of give Joanna my feedback, but also so I can get started on Empire of Storms, which I'm slowly becoming more excited to read again, I think. So check in later. All right, so week 2, it's Wednesday. Still in Immortal, which you can kind of tell I'm at home. It's nighttime. My brain is fried from the day. But starting sewing labs at school, which means very little time to read. So I am working on like trying to set aside time in the evenings to sit down and read, because I feel like if I don't, then I will spend the entire month on Immortal, and I don't really need to do that because Immortal shouldn't take me the entire month to read. So considering I'm like 30, almost 40% of the way through now, so it shouldn't take me the entire month to read that. So my goal is kind of like to set aside time to read every night, so that way I'm making progress, because I feel like I haven't made that much progress since my last check-in. But yeah, still working at it. I have a couple other books that I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to read that, but our goal is to stick to the books that we chose. So as of right now, my next book is still going to be Empire of Storms, if I could manage to get through Immortals. So yeah, all right, see you in the next one. All right, so week 3, I think, beginning of week 3 in October. I just now realized I'm still in Immortal. It's taken me a while to read it, and I think it's kind of funny that I think that I'm going to get through Empire of Storms by the end of October. I might try rearranging my book order, because Empire of Storms is an ambitious goal. But one thing, I wanted to make my kind of a two videos this week. One is the next book in the Serpent and Wings of Night. It's the Crown of Naxia. I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. I'm horrible at pronunciations in fantasy novels, but it's funny because fantasy is my favorite genre, so it's kind of hilarious. But I just found, so this is book 2. That was on my TBR for October. I am making an executive decision to add a book to my list, which I don't know if Joanna will agree with this or not, but I found a standalone short novella, that takes place before book 2. And the author's official website said that it takes place before book 2. So I'm making an executive decision to add this one. It's short. I should get through it, no problem. But I'm adding this one to my list because I feel like it's necessary, because I like reading things in chronological order. So, yeah. That's why I just haven't read all of the Lord of the Rings books yet, which is completely off the topic, by the way. But because a lot of the Silmarillion and all that kind of stuff takes place like before the main series, so it's like I have to read all of that first before I read the main series, just because my brain wants things in chronological order. So I'm making an executive decision, adding this to my list. It's official. even though Joanna has no idea. So, yep, week 3.
Oh,
We've had a few clips here and there, so before you guys watch that, I'll put that beforehand so it's all good. So she checked in, I checked in by ourselves, but this is our official check-in with each other and you guys. It is October 15th, so it's Tuesday? Yes.
yes, Tuesday.
Yeah. So,
Because I taught this week.
yeah, because you taught.
I had class today. I was like,
That's
I
funny.
hope it's Tuesday. Or else I had class on the wrong day.
I should probably turn on my lights so that it's, there we go, a little bit better. So I basically just finished reading through the Mystic series, which is how I've gotten completely derailed. But in my defense, I started October 1st on book 4, and there was book 4, 5,
You
6,
kinda had to
7, 8,
finish
and
it.
9. Yeah, 4 through 9. And I just finished it this morning, and I was like, I can't start Throne of Glass until after I check in with you guys. So I've had a few moments here and there today where I could have started it, but I'm officially going to start it after this recording. So I'm excited. I just need to pick out a good bookmark because it's always important to have a good bookmark with your book. So I got
Bookmarks
derailed,
are
but it's
essential.
October 15th, so I think I will for sure at least finish Throne of Glass, unless this is going to be a DNF, but hopefully it won't be. I'm positive thinking here. But I think I can I think I can still do this. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to give you the advice that I'd read several times.
Yeah.
The first two, like, the first 2 books are like the official first 2. So the ones like book 1 being the one that you're starting now, Throne of Glass. The first 2 books are slow.
Okay.
But let's see, book 3 picks up a little bit. Assassin's Blade is just iconic. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, so it's like book 1 and 2 are slow. Book 3 picks up a little bit, and then book 4 is when you like dive headfirst into everything.
Well, so far I
just managed. Yes, and I just managed to hit that because I
Also,
had that same. I had this.
Look how pretty that is.
Oh, that does look pretty.
Yeah.
It's so sad that all the other books in that have that cover are like crazy expensive on eBay now.
I know. Like, I got this dirt cheap, bro. Like, this was $9.99. I still have the tag on the back. And that's $9.99, not like $999. I just wanted to clarify. Not that needed to be clarified. Yeah. Also, I had one extra Assassin's bookmark from the Kickstarter stuff. So that's Aiden, my assassin in my series. So I figured it's kind of fitting. So we're gonna use that for the bookmark.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's one of the bookmarks that got free. Which, speaking of the Kickstarter, remind me to tell you some interesting little tidbits. Because I've had some doozies with that one. But, all right, what's your check-in?
Okay, so still an Immortal. I'm slightly concerned that I won't actually get to read any other books other than Immortal. I'm 46% of the way through the book, though. So I'm pretty much almost at the halfway point, or pretty much at it. So
yeah. When in the arc that you're reading, you're going to hit a point and you won't stop until you get it done, and it'll go fast.
Is it after Japan?
Well, yeah, the book itself, but I'm talking the Japan arc itself. But yes, after this, I'm not kidding, after this, it's going to feel like the book's going to be over pretty quickly.
Okay. Because that's how it felt. That's how it felt, like, up until, like from the beginning through China. It just felt like Rome, the gladiators were a little bit just enough that I'm like, okay, we'll keep going. And it's like bam, 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 bam. And then on these, I think these letters are just a lot more detailed. Yeah. Because obviously it meant a lot to hit the characters, so it's like makes sense. Yeah. It just felt like the first chunk, the speed was going pretty well, it felt like. Yeah. And I felt like I was making good, like, stamina, I guess. I was had good stamina, and then it was just kind of, I think because this section is such a long section, I think I'm getting too much in my head of, like, it's taking me too long. And I think that's just what's, like, caused me to be kind of just slow down a little bit. Yeah. I figured it would be a started sewing labs. Yeah. We've started sewing labs at school, so it's just, I have no time to read whatsoever. Yeah. So I think that's part of it too. But yeah. But once you get done with the Japan arc, at least for me, it always feels like I go through the rest of it really quickly.
at least when I'm editing. So, and editing takes longer than regular reading. So, and then obviously, and then there's no more Japan for the rest of the book. So you'll get to go through all kinds of other stuff that you're probably more interested in. So that helps too.
Well, I don't want it to sound like I hate Japan, because I find it very fascinating. I honestly, I think the Shogun stuff I'm finding more engaging, and the people and that in 1860s more, and like I'm latching onto that more than I did the first two eras. I don't know why. I'm not sure of an explanation as to why that is, but yeah.
I think a lot of it was, shout out to Heather H.A. Pruitt, my editor, because we worked a lot on the whole book, obviously, but like that section, she didn't get it at all the first round. And so she's like, you need to work on this and this and this. So like I heavily focused on making that graspable because she didn't get any of it the first time. And that was her. Tell, for sure. Yeah. And that was her doing it deliberately to try to edit. Heather. And she's like, I can't, shout out. She's like, I can't edit this because I don't know what's going on. I can't follow anything. Yeah. And imagine the san and kun and all the little honorifics at the end of every single name in the whole era.
Even in his thoughts.
Yeah. And I had to remove every single one of those, and no appearances. So all the appearances added.
I like them when he's talking. Like I feel like it fits like when he's talking to, like when it's an actual dialogue. Yeah. But I can totally see like in his head he wouldn't always be thinking in that kind of mindset. So it's like
that was a little error. That was an error by me because I didn't know that in Japan you don't write honorifics, you only speak them. And so I had to fix that as well for like culturally.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Also, I had them shrug and point and nod their heads a lot. Or not nod their heads, but it was like shaking your head or something. And so I had to so if there's a like where they shake their hands, it's like a cultural thing. So that was my cultural editor for this section.
I honestly... I haven't even noticed that, to be honest with you. I just kind of...
And Nagakura and his lanky arms, the second round, after I gave it back to her, I had no appearances, and then I was like, every time Nagakura was in a scene, it was like, Nagakura and his lanky arms did this, and she's like, his lanky arms have nothing to do with this particular movement, so you don't need it. And so we have this joke now that if I'm overdoing something, it's like Nagakura and his lanky arms, because I was like, every scene, Nagakura and his lanky arms. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
So I guess part of my update I mentioned in my individual, but originally part of my October book, I need to take the stickers off, but was to read book 2 of the Serpent and Wings of Night series. It's The Crown of Naxia. I think I'm saying that right. Nyaxia. Naxia. I'm gonna go with it. Say it with confidence, and they'll never know it's wrong.
Yes.
So, that's what I tell my kids at school all the time. If you say it with confidence, no one knows you're saying it wrong.
I love that.
Unless you have an expert, and then they know exactly what you're saying, and you're saying it wrong. But I took a little trip to Target, and I found a short. It's labeled short novel, but I'm pretty sure that would just be a novella, but I don't know the details of that. So short novel that takes place before book 2.
Right. So right after this one.
Yeah. And so I made an executive decision to add it to my list.
Executive
if I
being
can
not
get finished with Immortal.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's the goal.
I have
and
faith
I think
in
I'm
you.
gonna push Empire of Storms back.
Okay.
On the TBR, like in my little order of books, because I think at this point, it's a little bit of wishful thinking that I don't think I would be able to get finished with Empire of Storms in October.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my current feelings on I'm hitting that moment, which I did this in ACOTAR as well, where I just kind of got burnt out for a while, and I needed to read several books to cleanse my palate a little bit, and then go back into it. And I don't hate the series, but I think that's just where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And it's taken me more books to get there.
Mm-hmm. The cat says hello.
Which I guess is a good thing. Oh, cat. I love cats.
Yes.
Even though my allergies do not. But
that's funny.
So yeah, but it's a shorter book, so if anything, I'll know for a fact that I could get through that one decently quickly. So
I'm gonna actually unplug this and go over here.
okay.
That made a really big lag, but we're okay. I was trying to get out of the yellow lighting because I look so yellow.
Yeah. All right. I did mine. So now you do yours.
Yeah, I was reading through the Mystic series, and I guess as an author, I didn't register the fact that I could just turn any one of my documents to a PDF and send it to my Kindle and read it for fun. So for me,
I love that feature so much.
Yeah, it was honestly amazing. And so, like, usually if I read my own stuff, I'm sitting here at the computer and that automatically puts me in editing mode. And so when I started at book 4, I was able to just read through the series. And so I've averaged 2 to 3 days per book. So it's been since the last time we talked. I started book 4 and I went through book 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I just finished book 9 today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast series, and I'm just in love with it, and it sparked my desire to go back and edit the whole series and get it ready for publication. So, yeah, it's my, I wrote it for myself, but I still want to publish it, but, it's the epitome of what I love to read, even beyond the Valiant series. I've read the Mystic series so many times that I've read it more than the Valiant series, and I would say reader enjoyment level for the Mystic series for me is higher than the Valiant series, even though I love the Valiant series and it's my baby. So yeah, I'm in a vampire romance mood, so the Mystic series did that to me, and it's over, so I'm having withdrawal from it. But the funny thing was, I read Iron...
Honestly, if you're in the mood for vampire romances, you probably should read The Serpent and Wings of Night first then.
Yeah, I've just been waiting on Throne of Glass for so long, so we're going to have to decide which one I start with next.
I don't know. The Throne of Glass is slow, so it's like, I don't know how well you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
After coming off of a highlight with that.
Yeah, but for me, the ironic thing is I read Iron Flame and I loved it and had withdrawal from it. Then I jumped into A Court of Silver Flames, and then I fell in love with it and I started having withdrawal. And so I started rereading ACOTAR and stopped that. And then I read the Mystic series, which got me over my Silver Flame withdrawal. It's basically, I've loved every book I've read for the past 3 or 4 times, and so I've been the next book is getting me over the withdrawal from the last one I read, if you know what I mean. So it's like now I have withdrawal from my own series, and so I need something, something that's, and then that's worrying me. My concern with this is that I don't want to get picky with somebody else's book, just because it's not like I'm an expert writer. I write directly catered to everything I love as a reader, whether it's good or bad. It's just I love that kind of stuff. And so it's are they going to be able to write something that I can enjoy as a reader as much as I made myself enjoy, because I know what I want. And so that's where I So yeah, I'm wondering if I've been waiting for Throne of Glass to read it so much. So I want to do it next, but since it's slower and I'm coming off of a lot of highs from Iron Flame, Court of Silver Flames, and stuff,
I don't know
that I may need to do this one now, because I'm in a vampire mood. I wish y'all could vote if you guys are watching this. By the time you guys are watching it, it's too late to help me.
Yeah. I don't know. I would say, are you wanting... Oh, they're both competition based.
I feel like if I do the vampire romance, on the one hand, it's vampires, but I'm going to be comparing.
Oh, yeah. So you better stick with
the similarities.
You better stick with Throne of Glass then.
Yeah. We're going to stick with
because you don't want to be comparing them.
Yeah. And I'm going into it thinking this is going to be a slow book. So I'm going to hopefully get through it.
So you're going in with the anticipation of that.
Yeah, I'm preparing myself. Yeah, preparation, it's all about that helps.
Yeah.
Like when I went into Court of Silver Flames thinking this is a standalone book, I was able to see it as Nesta and Castian's story instead of still expecting Feyre and Rhysand.
I honestly, that's one of my biggest opinions about that series, is that the first 3 are, and even the covers are different. And people were complaining about how Silver Flames' spine was different than all the others. I am fully convinced that the first 3 are Nesta's story and are go together. The tiny itty bitty book is a transition to a different focus, and so these last 3 are going to be on a different focus other than Feyre.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you look at it from that perspective, that Feyre's story is ended for the most part. Yeah, we're still going to get her as a character, but it's going to be more of a side character than a main focus.
Yeah.
Like, her being the main focus is done. And so, like, when you look at it from that perspective, makes total sense. But
yeah,
got hiccups now.
It happens when you talk a lot. Like, I do that too. So I think that's it for our check-in, but I wanted to give you guys some tips because I know you mentioned that you haven't had much time to read, and I know a lot of people do struggle with that, whether you're writing or reading. Like, it can be hard to find time to sit down. So one of the tips that I have found, like, I have a lot of time to read, but on days like yesterday and today when I've been super busy, I'll just find little moments, like if I'm sitting there waiting for something to cook or whatever, instead of scrolling on my phone, you just grab a book or grab your Kindle and you start reading, and you kind of read in pieces when you can get those moments through. And so I've deliberately like trained myself, like with this last one where I was reading through the Mystic series, reaching for my Kindle instead of my phone, and instead of like watching YouTube or scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I would read. And that's why I read through, was that 5 books? Or whatever. Like, they're still over about 50 to 60,000 words, so they're still novel sized. But that's why I was able to read through them. Like, and I also read through my own books really quickly because I know them better. But just a quick tip for anybody who like wants to read and doesn't have time, like, just try to find little moments, even if it's like 5 minutes here and there. You're still making progress. And if you're writing, progress is progress. So,
and honestly, for like another tip to add on top of that, not everyone likes audiobooks, and I totally get that. You know, not everyone can picture, like, because I am a big person about like building the world in my head. That's why if the book has been turned into a movie, I have to read the book first before I watch the movie, because if I am picturing, because if I watch the movie first, I will only picture the movie, and if the book is too different, I can't get through it, because I'm a big I build the world in my head as I read it, and so because I'm a very visual person in general. But like for me, I will hybrid read. Like I'll start reading I call it hybrid reading. I don't know whatever you would call it, but like what I'll do is I call it hybrid reading, but I don't know what else you would call it. But I will start reading a book, whether it's on my Kindle or whether it's like on like a actual paper version. And what I'll do is, if I have the credit on Audible available, or if I like on Spotify Premium, they give you so many hours of listening. And what I'll do is that if I'm like making dinner and I can't have a book in my hand, I'll have my I have smart speakers in my kitchen and in my bedroom, and I'll just have, I don't want to say the name because then it will wake up and try to ask things.
That's funny.
But starts with an A and ends with an A. There's an X and an L in.
That gives people a good indication of what it is.
But anyway, and I'll just have her continue playing the audiobook that I was last playing. Or oh my gosh, it's a dog. Sorry, I totally got distracted.
I didn't mean to distract, but he was just like this.
It's just his head's right there. Such a baby. I love him so much. But and I'll continue where I'll click on I'll try to end when I'm reading a book. I'll try to end on a chapter.
Right.
And then that way, when I go into Audible, I can just click the chapter and listen and continue the story and listen. And then whenever I'm able to sit down and read, I'll pull back up the book and I'll continue reading like on paper, and I'll just go back and forth like that.
Yeah, and it helps you get
and
through
it's
it
like
faster.
I will get through like 20-30% of a book in like a day if I have to travel anywhere. Like if I have to go to a doctor's appointment that's like in a town that's like 45 minutes away, I will get through a decent chunk of the book, because what I found is that when I read in my head, I read slightly faster than how they read, the pace that they read in Audible. So I will up the speed. I keep the speed like pushed up a little bit. Like
I had Silver Flames for one of the slower moments. I did 1.5.
Yeah, like I have it pushed up a little higher than normal. So it's like normally I have it like on 1.2, but I have it on 1.25 at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like anywhere from 1.2 to 1.25, just because it feels more on pace with how I would read in my head, but because I don't always pause, like,
and I noticed with Silver
they
Flame,
pause
she
it
read
like
really
for
slowly.
punctuation and stuff like that.
They read slowly. Like, she had a lot of like drama kind of points with the regular audio narrator, and so I was reading her at 1.2, and then the dramatized audiobook actually went a little faster, so I didn't have to have it that fast, but I did that too. So yeah, audiobooks are really great ways of getting stuff read while you're busy and stuff, and you can have it beside you. So
yeah,
great tips.
Sure.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll check in with you guys next time. Again, it's October 15th, so we'll see if we can actually get to at least one book on our October TBR. I feel like it would be good going through Immortal, at least this section, especially if we had the audiobook. But that's
yeah, honestly, I've thought about that. That's a whole nother thing, a whole nother video. It's the monstrosity that has been your experience with Immortals audiobook.
I'll have it as a card. Please go check it out. You guys will have fun watching me suffer. That's the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we'll check in with you guys next time.
All right.
So please ignore the fact that I have a hood on. It's the only way to keep my hoodie on and not have the hood pressing against my neck. So I just put my hood up. I'm a bit of a mess, but I'm checking in on the October TBR challenge. It's still October 15th for me because I haven't gone to bed yet. I just wanted to check in because I didn't realize how much of a routine I had gotten in, but for the past 15 days, essentially, I have been sitting down in the late evenings working till about 4 in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock, sitting down with my Kindle and just reading the Mystic series. And again, it's not like arrogance or anything. It's just I wrote it catered to what I wanted to read, and therefore it had all the things. And now that it's time to sit down, relax, and read and start Throne of Glass, I am dreading it so bad, not because of Throne of Glass, but because I really miss the Mystic series and my routine. So, yeah. I will fill you guys in when I get past this little slump that I'm in.
All right, so, end of week 3. It's Friday, October 18th. I'm sure this video won't be out for quite a while, so... But I am still working in Immortal, but I finished the Japan arc. There's 3 eras all real close together that took place in Japan, and I was kind of hitting a little bit of a roadblock where I was just kind of reader's block, I guess you could call it. And so I was really struggling to kind of get through, to connect with characters. The last section of the Japan arc, I was able to connect more with the characters, and there's a little chunk, and so I got through that. There's a small little chunk that takes place just in the Midwest in general, and then I'm currently in an era where Nisan, I cannot pronounce his Japanese name. I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher it, but he's now with Crazy Horse in the 1870s, so that's kind of where we're at the moment. I'm 62% of the way through the book, so my goal is to try to do a bunch of reading over the weekend and see if I can't get it finished over the weekend. So I should have some free time, but I have some other things going on this weekend, so I don't know how much reading I'll actually get done. So, but that's the goal, because I do want to I'm excited to get to some of my other books on my TBR. I'm really excited for them. So I want to try to push through and get this finished and not spend too much more time on this before I move on. So, that's the plan. See you next week. All right, week 4. I finished Immortal, which is Joanna's book. That's currently pre-order right now on Amazon, by the way. Free plug for you, Joanna. But I finished it on Sunday evening, which turned out really well. Joanna is notorious for having cliffhanger endings. I am so proud of her for not putting one of her notorious cliffhanger endings on this one, because I was at least she leaves it open for further stories, because obviously this is an origin story for the Valiant series, which has a lot of books in it. And so it leaves it open because there are other things that will happen later in this series that will connect back to Immortal. So it's like, you know, it's good that they're connected, and that she kind of left it open, but didn't leave it on like a horrible cliffhanger and bad. It had a good ending. I liked it. I think probably the biggest takeaways that I had was that I went in expecting like a history book kind of layout where he experiences a little bit of every point in history, which is not what happens. And it's very much his story and us going through and experiencing his story. And so I think there are certain eras, certain locations, points in history that were super important to him. And because it's in the format of a series of letters written by him, we get like a somewhat, not distorted view, but selective view on history. And we only see where he's at in the moment, not a global look at everything going on. So, but once I got that in my head, it was a pretty easy read from there. And I think when I was getting to in the Japan section, because it is pretty long, I was like, there's so many other things going on in history, so why can't we see that? But then it's like, at the same time, that's not his story. It's about him and his story. So my review is on Goodreads. So I did post my review on Goodreads. I can't post it on Amazon yet because it's still only pre-order, but if you're curious to get my thoughts on that, you'll have to go check that out. Now I'm working on 6 Scorched Roses. We have a teacher workshop today, which I have some free time because I'm pretty prepared for this week, so nothing that I need to kind of really get a head start on. So I have a few minutes to read, which I'm so thankful for. But I'm starting 6 Scorched Roses. It's a novella. It's labeled a short novel, which I assume is a novella. I don't know the logistics or the technicalities of that, but I'm about halfway through. I'm enjoying it so far. So I think my goal is to start. Okay, so I'm currently reading 6 Scorched Roses. Like I said, I'm about halfway through. My goal, once I finish 6 Scorched Roses, is to start reading The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So that's my goal at the moment. Considering the pace that I'm getting through 6 Scorched Roses, I think I will end up starting this one today or this afternoon. So, yeah. Week 4. Got, let's see, one more week after this week, and then October will be done. That's crazy. If I look at it, Immortal actually took me about a month to read, which I slowed down for a bit there, but considering it's 700 pages, that's pretty good for me. Big books like that, sometimes it takes me a little bit to read them. And if you're a slow reader or it takes you a while to finish a book, that is completely fine, because books give you knowledge, okay? And reading is super important. And even as a teacher, I see where it's becoming a not as popular pastime. So reading is important, even if it's fiction and fantasy, still important. So see you next time.
So this is me checking in for our October TBR challenge. I'm not going to complete the challenge. It is like October 24th, I think. And I haven't made any progress in Throne of Glass. So I'm thinking about vetoing my decision because I found this new app called Fable, which I will do a separate video about Fable, kind of breaking it down, because it's basically like Goodreads, but I like it better than Goodreads, and it's amazing. And on there you get credit if you share the app and people sign up for it, but it's free to sign up. So the thing is, when they sign up, they get $5 and you get $5, and it's this amazing thing because then you get $5 credit to their store. And I found this really amazing romantic suspense series that is identical, like not identical, but it's like really like the same exact genre that I'm writing, and that's also my mood right now. And the more that you read in that genre, the better you'll write in that genre. And I really genuinely want to read it, and so I'm thinking about replacing this with books in that series. I have $10 credit right now. I just used up the $5 credit that I got from my cousin when she sent me the invite link, and I just got 2 more people that came on, so I have $10 to spend. And so I may go through the books with you guys and then pick out one to read and replace Throne of Glass with it, because I'm not going to get anything done in the next 6 days if I'm not going to complete a single book from my October TBR if I don't replace this and veto the decision. So that's everything. I will check in with you guys later when I have a chance to go through the app and figure out what I want to read. But this is the Fable app, so I'll be going over the app in another video. But this is for my October TBR list, and it's 5 in the morning, as you can see. So I used my $10 credit to buy Revenge and Rescue. So that was the $10.01 that I had credit for people coming on here. And then my cousin had credit when she invited me to the app, and the $5 got me Conceal. So Janie Crouch is the author that I'm talking about, and this seems like this is her original series. These are all samples, by the way. Or actually, these 2 were free. This is a sample. Okay, The Chord Between Us and Irrelevant were both free, and this is a sample, and these were ones I actually bought. So Janie Crouch, or Crotch, Crouch, it looks like. Janie Crouch is the author that I'm talking about, and I found her series. So these are her older books, and I really like her newer ones are the ones that I really want to read, but like they aren't available for sale here on Fable. So I bought these because I didn't have the money to get the ones on Amazon. So however, I just talked with my husband, and he's okaying me to buy a few of them on Amazon. So I'm going to look at them and see which ones I want, because there's some that sound so good, you guys. So these are the 3 that I'm thinking, but I don't know which one I want to start yet. Because I think it's Rescue. I know Conceal. I think it's Revenge and Rescue. They all have elements that I already have ideas for, because like one of them deals with like a trafficking ring, and I had ideas for a trafficking ring situation in mine. A revenge plot against the guy's exes is another one. So that was another one that I already had ideas for before I even read the blurbs of these stories, so it could help me pull inspiration. But again, it's 5 in the morning, and I'm going to check out Amazon to see what I can find. So I will check in with you guys when I know more about what I'm doing. I just spent too much money. I sort of went a little crazy, and I bought the entire series. Janie Crouch. I keep calling her Crouch. I'm sorry. Janie Crouch. Her linear tactical series. There's 14 books in it, and it's like protective hero, romantic suspense. I just bought the entire 14 book series, you guys, on my Kindle. I spent $80. I cannot justify buying $80 worth of books, but I did. So I'm just gonna download them all. And I read a sample to make sure I had just the voice and the characters, and this is what I need, guys. So I'm vetoing my October TBR, and my goal is to get at least one of these read. There's certain ones in this series that I really, really want to read. Like, they all sound good, but there's some that just stand out as yes. Shamrock, which is book 3. Ghost, which is book 5, Shadow, which is book 6, and it was either Storm, Redwood, or Scout, one of those 3, but Ghost and Shamrock and Shadow are the 3 that just sound on top of it. But I think I may read them in order, because, I mean, at this point, I might as well. Guys, oh gosh, I can't. I'm a bad person. I feel so bad. In these times, I feel so bad. I'm probably gonna regret that. That's gonna come back to bite me in the butt. I feel like it. But here we are. So I'm downloading these books and I'm gonna start reading. It is 5:31 in the morning, so I actually have to go to bed. But if I can start reading the first page, I've already started reading the first page of Cyclone, so I may update my Goodreads and Fable to announce that I am reading this book and go from there once I download all of these books. Oh my god, my husband's gonna murder me. I need to do a meme. Like my husband's reaction when I spend too much money on books. Alright, I will check in with you guys next time. It's October 24th for me. So, we'll see. Hey guys! Alright, we're checking in.
Hello.
It's October 25th, so October's coming to a close, and I have not read...
End of week 4.
Yeah, week 4. Yeah, I don't know
week
what
4.
Is. Oh, I haven't read a single book, guys. I have not made much progress in Throne of Glass at all. I am still here. I did a check-in personally the other night, and I walked you guys through the whole process. So hopefully you probably have seen that clip as I bought 80 books worth of books.
I've had several. Yeah, I've been doing one at the beginning of the week and then trying to do one at the end, or at least once a week. So
I did.
They're interesting. Some of them
things to report because I wasn't really doing anything.
I just did a weekly check-in. They're like, okay, I'm on this book, or I completed this one, or whatever.
Yeah,
some of them I look absolutely gone.
But since my last check-in, I bought this last night at 5:30 in the morning, and I went to bed, and I'm already on chapter 3 and 9% of the way through this book. So my goal is to at least get this one book read for the month. Like, that is at this point all I'm hoping for, because basically I'm vetoing my decision and replacing my TBR list with this series. But it may not, it'll probably be like a November thing. But November is NaNoWriMo for me, so November's gonna be precarious. I'm trying to figure out how to get back. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to show, oh, here it is. Here's the series. Like, I am on that one. So we will see how long it takes me to get through all of these. Hopefully that would be cool if I could have a picture of this and put like check marks as I get through it.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
All right, so what's going on with you? We gotta fill everybody in.
All right. So I don't have the book with me, but the 6 Scorched Roses, which was that little novella that I made the executive decision to input into my list. That one was short enough that I was able to read in a day. Honestly, I like literally, it mentions a couple of the characters from book 1, but it's nothing. There might be one spot where it's kind of spoiler-ish, but it's not horrible. And it feels so Beauty and the Beast-ish, and I love it so much.
I love
Beauty and the roses even add to it, and I'm just like, I'm gushing.
So many
if you haven't picked up on it, and it's like, but this one is so unique. This one is so unique. It's like it's different than the others. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
it's so good, and it's like ACOTAR. The first ACOTAR book was kind of like that, but I'm like, it's so much better. It's so much better.
Oh my gosh,
it's like,
that's good. I'm like, I've seen so many of them lately, and I want to buy them because I will always read you give me a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I will read it. I am guaranteed. I love it. It is my favorite fairy tale, bro. I am excited.
So I finished that. I started. It's book 2, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. So I'm starting that one. I am on page. It's the
the hardback.
That was the book jacket. Look how pretty the hardback of this book is.
Oh my gosh.
Like
crazy.
It looks it's gorgeous, and I love it. But so I'm on page 92. I was actually reading right before we started recording. It's good so far. I don't know how I feel about certain characters. The antagonists have made themselves known, and so they irritate me.
Yeah.
It always happens, though. I always get irritated by certain people.
Yeah. I get it.
But yeah, so I'm enjoying it for sure. I met my Goodreads goal for the year, which was 20. So I met that one.
I saw that.
Which honestly, what I do every year is that I will keep reading, and whatever number I end on that year, that's my starting goal for the next year. So last year I just barely met it by 20, getting to 20 last year. So I was like at 19 and I read 20, or my goal was 20 and I met 20. I think it was like my goal was like 18 or 19 and I read 20. So I started with 20 this year. And considering it's only October and I've already met 20, I know for a fact I'm going to go over, which means next year my goal for the year will go up 1, 2, maybe more, who knows. But that's like this, like my personal thing that I do is that my Goodreads goal goes up 1 every year. And I'm trying to like force myself to read books through the beginning of the school year, because August through like November and then like March through May, I just don't read much at all. Thinking about like how I know on one of your social medias you posted about Fable, and so it's funny because the graphs in Fable will show you how many books you read that month. Yeah. And you can see the dips in the busyness of the school year, which I didn't use Fable much like in the spring of this year. I downloaded it, I used it a little bit. I wasn't sure about it because I'm so used to Goodreads. I still like Goodreads. I like I like the reading challenges for the year as a reader side of it. I know you have your own complaints from the author side, but like I do enjoy it as a reader, but I also like the graphics and like the pie chart on the genres that you read. Yeah, I do appreciate a lot of that stuff.
I wish I'd known about it sooner.
And the streaks. So if you mark that you read for the day, your streaks, it will keep track of your streaks, which I really love that too. Yeah. And so if you look at my thing, you can see like there were certain summer months where I just read and read and read. And like, there's like one month I had like, because I inputted, you can download from Goodreads into Fable, which saved me a lot and made me absolutely not hate the app. So I appreciated that it allowed you to transfer things in, which was lovely. But
a whole review on Fable is going to be a whole separate video because it's just there's so much to say about it compared to Goodreads. So it's definitely really, it's like, I love it.
And I don't know how it is all from like an author perspective. And I honestly feel like there are certain aspects of Fable that I love. I love the fact that it's very community oriented, where you can have like book clubs and stuff like that. I do like that, even though I'm very introverted and I never talk to people online. Like at all. Yeah. So it's like I probably won't ever use the club side of it unless you and I do something, which would be kind of fun. But
I'm planning to at some point, but yes.
But yeah, so it's like, I mean, you can. I'm kind of hesitant about that just because that's just my personality. Yeah. But I do love the graphs. I love the breakdown. Yeah. And I like how it shows the type of reader you are, which I thought it was interesting. Your reader type was different than mine.
Was so accurate. It's scary. We'll have to talk about that in a whole separate video. So the Fable stuff. Yeah. Yeah, but
it's just good.
Michael, the look on Michael's face when I read it to him, he's like, yeah, pretty much. I love it so well. I know you can see that I didn't read much throughout the summer because there was like several months where it's just like empty, and like 1 month when I got into like the psychological thrillers, I read so many of them. It was like 1 month I had like so many books. I don't even know how many, but it's just
see like mine. You can see in June I read like 4 books in June, and all the others have been like 3. Yeah. So and then in September, I only got 1 read, so
it happens. Honestly,
the school year starting and everything.
The numbers, if it tells you anything, I have not been a book reader in so long. I didn't even have a book goal for this year. So the fact that I've read 11 books this year, my goal for next year, I think, is officially going to be 12. So like 1 book per month. If I can pull one non-me book per month, is 12 would be my goal. Great. But and then speaking of special hardbacks, it's not like special, but like my very first pretty, hardback. Like I've never had a hardback.
It's technically not your very first. I meant
first with a dust jacket because that other one I've actually got that one.
I'll say I have the very first, and I'm one of the few people who have it.
But it's like my proof copy. I
own bragging rights to that.
My proof copy did not have these, so these were all white, and it was like the lines were on it, and like I didn't get this gore. Like it's just land, but I've had to ship these out to everybody, and I haven't had my own copy besides my proof copy. So it's like my mom got one before I did. So I'm like, I'm happy to have mine now. So yeah, I had to throw that in there as a little tidbit.
Yeah,
and
like
by the way, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay.
I was going to brag about the hardback that I have.
Oh, yeah.
It's the one with Hunter. It's the Averella. It's the
Averell. Yeah, the Averell collection.
Yeah.
I'll grab it really quick.
Yeah, I've got that one. Yeah, you got to pull it up. I was like, I am one of the select few. I will brag until my dying day about that. It sits on the shelf that's designated to you.
So
yes, it's that one. I have it, and it's like the old cover style and everything. I'm like,
yeah, like this.
I have some of like the OG covers.
Yeah, like this.
Like I have the original Dark Magi and the original Light Magi, like those covers. I still have the OG cover and formatting and everything.
The old school formatting, like.
Yeah.
Okay, this turned into like a hardback discussion, but yeah. So for reference, I did want to point out that I do plan on finishing Throne of Glass. It's just like it was putting. I've told
concerned me. You told me.
It put me in a reading slump where I didn't want to read anymore. And I'm like, if you're reading a book and you don't even want to read anymore, then you need to find another book, at least for now.
Yeah,
and sometimes like, there's this one book person that I watch, Ryan Trahan's wife, Haley Penn, I think, is her. I love watching. She does a lot of like book reading vlogs. And she talks about how like, oh, this book was good, but it's just not my mood right now. And so she like, it made me realize that reading is also emotional based.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, she's in a fall mood. So like, she doesn't want to read certain genres right now because she's in a fall mood, and for her that's a certain type of genre. I don't remember what it is, but and so it's like, you know, it's like maybe it'll be a better time for me later, but I am Skyrim, so I'm still, my brain is like half fantasy, half military romantic suspense right now, which is basically the series that I'm reading. So and then I had to brag about the books real quick because I am so excited. Okay. For this series. So there's a few that stood out to me, but I'm starting with book 1 because I want to do them in order, because sometimes you'll have like book 6 will talk about book 5 couple or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so we have this character named Zach, and he and his army buddies invented this like training organization or business group called Linear Tactile. I can never remember the word tactile. Linear Tactile, and that's the title of the series, where they train people in self-defense, and they're all army guys. And his wife and his toddler were killed in a car accident. And the name of the person, she was an 18-year-old girl who fell asleep at the wheel, and her name is the main character of a later book, a later character. So I'm like, she's gonna get with one of the army guys. I know it because she's an ex-con, and so at this point she's still in prison. So I'm like,
oh wow.
And then so after his wife's death, he has a drunken night that he regrets. We don't know what happened, but I'm thinking he had a one-night stand with somebody and he regrets it because it was only 2 weeks after his wife died. And then he has a motorcycle accident, and then we jump to this woman who's new to town, and she's an ER nurse. And I'm like, all right, this is the meet cute. He's going to come in from the car accident, and she's going to tend to him, and it's going to be so cute. She used to live here. She has the same name as his one-night stand, so I think their history, they had the one-night stand together, and he regretted it. And from her perspective, she remembers him telling her to get out. And I'm like, well, he probably came to realize what he did, regrets it, and was really mean to her, like told her to get out.
I bet he left her. I'm calling it now. He left her there. Yeah. He just up and left. That's gonna be good.
Yeah, and so, but she was married to this hospital guy who like was loved by the hospital. He cheated on her, humiliated her, and she still had to work there, humiliated underneath him. So she leaves. So she's happy to work at a hospital, but she's like a book reader, and she likes to keep to herself. She's really like doesn't really want to be like recognized or known. Like she wants people not to notice her, and she's feel like she's failed her life, but the one area she's good at is being an ER nurse. So I've told Hannah this before, but like I don't get into female characters, and like she immediately just clicked with me. Something about her just clicked with me, and and this isn't even one of the books that I was like really wanting to read. Like there's one where he was captured by the enemy and he has trauma, and I'm like, all right, that's my thing. I am a sucker for it. I want to get to that book. Another one apparently has this experiment thing put in his head that's like ticking down. I don't know what it does, but I'm like, I gotta read that one too. So like there's a few that stand out, but I'm excited. So I wish I
That's
brought in my
awesome.
desk fan. I'm getting hot. It's hot in here. Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah. For sure.
That's our little book check-in. I've got so many books just sitting on my desk. But yeah, I do plan on reading these. It's like my TBR list just kind of scooted down to add 14 extra books at the beginning of it. So
in my defense, I only added one. You added a series.
I know, at least yours made sense because it went place before the second book. So it's like yours made sense. Mine was just off the wall. But for reference, it's what I'm writing right now.
Honestly,
so it's the same.
I would rather you read book, add a series in that you're enjoying, than like just get into a slump and not read anything else this month at all.
Yeah,
so
not to be overly dramatic, but I don't want to go back to who I used to be. You know? Not to be overly dramatic or anything, but it's like I actually like being a book reader.
I've changed.
I've
changed for the better.
Yeah, and so
it's funny.
It's interesting to try to balance that out with writing, because before I would always, like, back my old self, I would be so guilty, like, you should be writing right now, and then I would go write, and it's like the whole focus was on that, but it's like now with NaNoWriMo, we're going to see how many of these 14 books I can get done with NaNoWriMo coming up, because for reference, you have to write 50,000 words in 30 days, and for reference, I wrote 100,000 words in 40 days. This last book that I just did was 104,000 words, and I wrote it in like 41 days, I think it was.
You'll smash NaNoWriMo with no problem. Like,
it's just the problem is
we're forgetting that you wrote a million words in a year?
1 million words, yeah.
Like, did we forget about this, that we, like, a couple years ago that you achieved? Yeah, you'll get 50,000, no problem.
My worry is that, one, the book, I may not be inspired for it, so it's like you never know whether you're going to be inspired or not.
Yeah.
And then two, what was my second concern? I already forgot about it. My second concern was that it's like I'm coming off of the 100,000 words in 40 days writing every single day.
Yeah.
Strict deadline for the writing competition, and I'm like, do I need a break, or do I have the creative energy to keep going again? Like, the last couple days have been nice, where I call it nano prep, which I'll do a whole other video about. So it's been nice to just brainstorm. But I think my next one is probably going to be a military guy on their Navy SEAL team that had DID, and he integrated all of his personalities and healed from it, because I've done a lot of research in that, because it's just like a fascinating phenomenon to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And he integrated, but then something in the combat situation that they all faced that was revealed as a twist in book 1, there was another twist from his perspective, and it fractures him again. And so all of his alters start splitting back off, and I get to invent all of his alters, and I'm so excited, all the trauma that caused it.
Oh, that's going to be so cool.
He's already married at this point, and his wife doesn't know he had DID, so she thinks he's coming back with PTSD from combat. So I'm pretty pumped, and it's sad, and I'm psychopath when I'm writing, but it's like the whole author loved to torture characters.
But honestly, like, it'll kind of ride that same wave of what you've been reading here lately. Not exactly the same, but it's kind of like similar enough that I think you will, like, if you chose to go with that for NaNoWriMo, I think you would like smash it quickly. I don't think you have anything to be concerned about, but
it's just a matter of, like, I always get this anxiety before I start a book, like, am I going to be able to finish it? Am I going to be inspired for it? Is it going to be one of those did not finish? Kind of like we the reading books.
Yeah, I get that way when we start projects at school. So
put this in the did not finish pile, because I do. Yeah. I've been seeing so many potential spoilers on Pinterest and Instagram, and I'm like, I need to read this series, and I'm like,
Well, see,
like,
I'll get stuff.
There's just so
I'll
much
get stuff for. I'm fully convinced, like, because when I would be reading, like, when I bought Empire of Storms when I was reading the book before it, and so it's like when I was reading the previous book, I would buy the next one in the series, and eventually I just bought the ones to finish them out because I knew that I'm going to read through them all eventually.
Yeah,
but it was like technology. Whether you believe the theory of whether they're listening to us or not, who knows? Yeah. But I started getting spoilers for later in the series after I would go to Target and buy them. So it's
nice.
I did this thing. I was like talking to my phone, like, I am not on this book yet. Stop. Like, whoever's listening.
I do that too. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to buy this product, so stop sending me the ad. Like I just did. This is a total tangent. I just recorded this hilarious video because the omnibus is coming out soon. And I took all the Valiant book blurbs, and I turned them into like songs using AI, and it was just for fun. I support AI, like I support real people, but it was hilarious, and some of the songs are cursed. Like, it is so crazy. And I did it for fun, but ever since then, like, I don't care about, I'm not going to download an AI music app. I just needed it for that one funny video that's coming out soon, so look for that. But I'll have it here as a card because it should be out by the time you guys are watching this. But anyways, and now they're sending me all kinds of AI music app ads. And I'm like, I'm not going to use AI music. I just did one video. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had a lot of tangents and stuff. I may have to divide this whole video into multiple parts or something but I'm running out of gear. Like, there's so many videos I want to finish out this year, but it's like I don't have enough Mondays to get me through. But
yeah.
All right, we will check in with you guys as soon as I don't know if this is the week 4, but
it could be like the last day.
The last day, we'll check in with you guys. So this is the final check-in
on Halloween,
before the final time. So we're the last
we'll have a Halloween special that I may have to keep stopping to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters. We'll see.
That's funny. We live in the country, so we don't have those here. We get to eat candy ourselves. So that'll be fun. So this is my last stretch to see if I can actually read at least one book this month.
I think you'll get it. Get it. Considering you made a decent amount of progress on day 1. I have faith in you. You'll get it.
All right, cool. All right, well, we'll check in with you guys next time.
So today is Monday, which means it's the last Monday of October. And so kind of on the tail end, I'm currently reading Ashes in the Star-Cursed Kings, the hardcover part of it. So pretty. But so I am currently about 50% of the way through. It's a really good book. The relationship between the two main characters is kind of unique in the sense that it kind of started out enemies to lovers, but it's not. And it's like, it's just a weird, in book 1, and now in book 2, it's like things have changed, dynamics have changed, and it's really intriguing. So, and I'm really enjoying it. So we're it's like keeping you on the edge of your seat because you don't really know who to trust, and it hasn't revealed who are the true good guys and who are the true bad guys. And so it's like really, it's just good. It keeps your attention. It keeps you really engaged. So it's really engaging. So I'm enjoying it. I want to see if I can finish it before the end of October. That would be awesome if I can. So, yeah, check-in. One of the last check-ins for me, just me. I know Joanna said that we were going to kind of do one final one on October 31st, last day of October. So, pretty excited. It'll be fun. So, see you later.
Hey guys, so this is my check-in on my October TBR. It is October 27th for me. It's 3:20 in the morning, but I haven't gone to bed, so I still count it as October 27th, Sunday. And I just finished Cyclone. Let me get the cover up for you guys. I think it's this one. Yeah. So this was book 1 in the linear tactical series. I vetoed everything. Janie Crouch, linear tactical book 1 out of the 14. So yay, I did it. I finished one book on my TBR list, and it wasn't even one of the ones originally on my TBR list. So I'm getting ready to film my review, but basically this is probably not going to be that high star of a rating. It started strong. It had a few good moments in there, but the romance itself wasn't very good. I'll explain all of that in my review, so go check that out. And I will also be giving Hannah some more detailed thoughts as well when I check in with her at the end of the month. So that's my thoughts. Basically, to me, it's marketed as a romantic suspense, but it's more of a romance with suspenseful moments, but not a true romantic suspense, because a true romantic suspense would be balanced. And this was not balanced. It had suspenseful and mysterious moments, but the majority was focused on the romance. But the problem is it's marketed as a romantic suspense, and it's only a romance, but the romance isn't that good. And that's the problem with this book. So I will give you guys all my thoughts when I check in with Hannah, and then I'll, some of my thoughts when I check in with Hannah, but I'm going to give all of my details in my review. I'll have that up here as a card. So I'm going to film that. But I got one book down and it's the 27th still, so I don't know if I'm going to get another one, book 2 done before October 31st is done, but honestly, I'm kind of thinking about rage quitting, but this was just book 1 and it wasn't one of the ones that was interesting to me, so I'm going to keep giving it a chance and I'll check in with you guys next time. It's October, 27th, 28th?
28th, yep.
28th, okay. So I did a little check-in last night when I finished Cyclone, but I figured we'd talk more detail because I finished it, and then I just basically said that I finished it, and then I filmed my review. So we got to talk about Cyclone. So I did finish one of my books, like my revised TBR. So I did at least one book. Yay. I've already started the second one, so we'll see how that goes. It's basically marketed as a romantic suspense, but it's romance. Like the focus is on the romance with a few suspenseful moments.
Yeah.
There's like 5 moments in the whole book. And the problem with that is that the romance is not strong. So it's like a romance that's focused on the romance, but the romance sucks. And the suspense is the good part.
So is it like a slow burn? Like, is it like a slow burn romance?
Actually,
or is it just like
literally?
Is it just like a mild romance?
No, it's not even that. It's just like the blurb is like something to the effect of like, he'll do anything to protect her, but what if he has to save her from himself or something like that? But the way that he hurt her is like resolved halfway through the book, and she forgives him like instantly. But and to me, I didn't think it was a big deal what he did because he was drunk, he was grieving over his dead wife. I would excuse it. But for her character, it's built up as this event that changed the whole course of her life. It emphasizes that so much, and then all of a sudden she's like instantly like forgives him and gets right back into it, and it's just like so weird. And a lot of like, I was reading like all of the reviews that are lower star are only rated that way because the romance wasn't good to them. So, and then after that it's just really like the suspense and the action are really, really good. It's just, I don't believe in their romance. You have that event that happened. Basically, his wife dies, and his wife and his son get killed in a car accident. A person falls asleep at the wheel. So at the book, it's like 6 years ago, but he already forgave the person who did it. So it's like there's really nothing to heal from, which is fine. Like that's a good character. Yeah. But he doesn't have a character arc because of that. But 2 weeks after his wife dies, he ends up basically having a one-night stand with the main girl in the book, who is his wife's best friend. And he's so drunk, he like freaks out on her and tells her to get out. And it was like her first time being with anyone. So he, took her virginity essentially and shoved her out of the room and just left her and just like made her leave the room. And it like traumatized her whole life apparently. But they don't have any guilt over the whole, like it's not really, it's like, oh, she would want us to be together. But it's like brushed over. The fact that you're dating your best friend's husband, or that like he's essentially getting with his dead wife's best friend. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no guilt there, and it's just so weird. Even though she's dead, and they don't like it'd be one thing if they were working through their guilt, like, oh, we shouldn't be together, or this is so weird, like, but there's none of that. And then
is it just problem, like is it more like a lack of like character development? Is it just like, because it sounds like a lot of the issues that you could see potential growth in a character is solved really early. Yeah,
like the whole thing is resolved.
Or like maybe the character growth is too quickly.
Like she forgives him. And she grows and she has a character arc, but outside of the fact that he teaches people like self-defense, and he was an army guy, and let me preface this, like the army stuff, they do the veteran thing really, really well. Like that shines. But outside of that, he has no personality other than just being obsessed with her. Like it's all about like, I want to be with her, and just spicy thoughts all the time about being with her. It's like this obsessive, and that's all his personality. It reminds me of of the meme about the Star Wars sequel trilogy where it's like Finn is like, Rey, every 2 seconds. It's kind of how it comes off. It's like Zach is like, and I'm like, oh, this is so, like, do you not have a personality outside of her? And it's frustrating. But the crime, like this mystery crime is really good. And it's done in like a crime way, so it doesn't come off as like bad to me, because it basically they're dealing with a serial rapist, so it's a sensitive topic, but it's done in a really well written way, and then of course you know that she's just gonna get attacked and stuff, so there's that whole thing, and there was an unrealistic aspect of that where I hate when books in real life book that are like contemporary books handle women being attacked and assaulted, and then 2 seconds later they're getting spicy with their man, because that is not how it works in real life.
No, that's not realistic at all.
And it
usually takes them years and years to get even remotely close to being comfortable with somebody else again. Like that's very unrealistic.
So that rubs me the wrong way. I get triggered very quickly because of that stuff. So I ended up rating it 2 stars. Yeah. So I'm just hoping it gets better.
But you were super excited about it. Which, you know, and it could be something where the writers, the author's writing develops as you go along. Like, I firmly believe we see that in the ACOTAR series. We see that in the Throne of Glass series. You see that in like a lot of the series that you see like authors write, especially ones where they've started writing them younger. That over time you'll see it develop. Like you even see it in the Valiant series too. Like your writing style in Hunter is like, and how you write in Hunter is very different. Like very different than say Samurai or Immortal or anything like that. Like your style does it's kind of it like grows with you, and so I feel like
it does. So that's what I'm hoping for. And to be honest, like this was the first book. Like I said, there were some books in the series that stood out as I really want to read them, and this was not one of them. This was one of the ones I was like, oh, okay, I really don't care about that blurb, whatever. But it's part of the series and it's book 1, so I was going to read it and give it a chance. And I do like there were several good lines. First of all, I'm actually like able to take notes, and I figured out on this Kindle how to access my notes. So I had my notebook and I can see all my quotes, and I was like,
oh sweet. Yeah. I'll say it shows that up on my Kindle too, and I was like, I was kind of wondering why you weren't able to find yours. So good. Cool.
Yeah. So one of the lines that I did have to bring up was, it said, he killed multiple times in multiple ways, and it had cost him a piece of his soul every time. It had cost all the guys a great deal to serve their country in ways they hadn't even understood sometimes until they'd returned home. But that was the sort of thing you didn't talk about with civilians. And I was like, I appreciate this, and I love that, and it's so true. So the whole honor to the veterans thing was like really good. Good. Yeah, and there was one scene, because you know how I just got through writing The First to Fall, which has a new name now, but that's beside the point. There's this one scene that was like, really reminded me of that. Okay, it's really intense scene. They just found out that the main girl, something was going on with her. I can't even remember what part it was. But he jumped in the passenger side of Aiden's Jeep and Finn climbed in the back. He felt slightly better when Aiden tore out of the driveway faster than Zach ever would have taken it. Zach took a deep breath and focused. Tell me what you know. And I'm like, there's always like this trope where it's like intense crises and the soldier guys are focused and they're like doing their work and they're like, you know, they're just focused on, okay, what do we need to do to like help the situation? And it like really shows their training, I guess. And it's like, I love those kind of moments. So I did something similar in mine and it also, and like my other character had a Jeep. It was just a pure coincidence. I was like, I don't know if it's like a thing or whatever, but yeah, I rated it 2 stars. So hopefully it gets better. So far, because they set up the situation of the next book in this one, and that Finn is one of the characters, and he has a son named Ethan, and in one scene in there was this woman who ended up being Ethan's tutor, and they were supposed to meet for the first time, and it turns out it's some woman he doesn't like, I assume because they have a history together, and she did something to break his heart, and he's like, you're not getting anywhere near my son, and he was like really mean to her, and that was in this book, and they're the main characters of the next book, and it's their romance, but Finn is going to go on an undercover mission, so I'm like pretty excited about that so far, so... But that's my check-in. So what's been going on with you? I know you said your book is getting really good.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the first book, I would describe the two main characters. It's not a full enemies to lovers. It's an enemies to lovers with a twist.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's with a twist. And so this book 2, the book that I finished, which was the in-between one, which is then I call it a novella because that's essentially what it is. It's a short novel. It's called a short novel. But the 6 Scorched Roses, it's about a couple that you meet in the second book. And so they're essentially side characters is what they are.
Okay.
They don't have any, at this point in time, they don't have any direct, at that I know of, any influence into the plot twists that are going on currently.
Okay.
But it's the dynamic between the two female characters. So there's Rain and Araya. And the dynamic between them is so interesting because they meet in book 1, and the majority of book 1 is essentially following them two with a friend. And so you have these 3 characters again, but the 2 of them, their dynamic is so interesting. And you see these people around them, and you can tell that you probably shouldn't be, like, the only people that I somewhat trust are the people that I've read about as a reader, are the people that I read about in the novel that I just finished. Yeah. But it's like, even then, I don't know the guy from the novella. I don't know his true intentions, but it's obvious that there's people around them that you shouldn't trust. And it's like, I'm just getting to the point where it's revealing who you shouldn't trust. And I don't want to go any more detail than that because I know you said that you were interested in reading it. Yes. But it's just, it's refreshing because it doesn't follow, I feel like it's fantasy, but it's not the cookie cutter type format that I've which that's why I love Fourth Wing so much, is because it's fantasy, but it's not that cookie cutter fae romance. Yeah. It's not that cookie cutter fae romance. Not that that's bad, because I love cookies, and those cookie cutter romances are amazing. I love them all. Yeah. But there's times where it's like, I need to refresh my palette, and it's like Fourth Wing is in its own genre, and then the Naxia, I'm not saying it right, the Naxia series, something like that. It's in its own tier as well. It's like, it's different than Fourth Wing, but it's different than Akatar and all the other stuff. It's different than any fantasy I've read before, and it's refreshing, and I'm enjoying it. That's good. So I'm really excited for it, honestly. I think Fable said that I was about 51% of the way through. So I'm like, I'm doing one of those hybrids where I'll read some. If I'm like doing something where my hands are occupied, I'll listen to Audible. I don't like the male narrator. This has a name, male and female. I couldn't get those words out. My brain was like glitching there for a second. You're fine. I didn't like the male narrator for a second. For like the first little bit, his voice is so deep, and I never imagined Rain's voice as deep because I was so used to the female saying his lines. And so now that we have a male and a female narrator, I'm like, oh, I mean, this would sound great for Tarn, a dragon. Yeah. But it's like, why is it this deep? I never imagined him to be hit. Like, the persona that I had developed in my head of him did not fit with that voice, if that made sense. Yeah. And it's growing on me for sure. But like, I'll read the audiobook for chunks, and then I'll read it. I'll listen and read at the same time, or sometimes I'll just listen. Yeah. So like when I was making dinner a little bit ago, I was just listening to it, and it was getting to a really good part. So just so you know, I love you enough to pause in the middle of a good chapter. So that speaks volumes. Yeah. But I mean, I think I'm on like chapter like 43 at the moment, but it's like not halfway through. Nice. So, but yeah, I was going to show the cover of Eagle, but I would hold mine, but I left it in the other. It's fine. It's in the other room. But yeah. So. But yeah, and then the last thing I will say, the ending. There was this hilarious moment where I was like, the bad guy, I thought it was going to be revealed, and I'm like, I called it, this is the bad guy. I can't believe this was such a
I could see it coming twist, and I was kind of getting annoyed. And then I read, and it was like a red herring, so it was like a false, like it's actually somebody else. And I was like, oh dang, never mind. I didn't see it coming. I'm sorry. I was getting angry because at this point I've gone through this dumb romance that I don't. It's just, you know, I've been trying. And one thing I will say, it was a really quick read. I read it in, like, for me, 3 days. Although my apps like Goodreads and Fable say otherwise, because I finished it in the AM, so it's like, oh, it's the next day, and it's like, I haven't gone to bed yet, guys. It's still the same day, so it was like 3 days for me, my awake time. So it was a quick read. So like when the first time I tried Court of Silver Flames, I was like, I can't get through this because it's just so big. I can't deal with that much of. I don't like it for when I first started it. Second time it was better, obviously, but this one was so short. It was like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm 68%. Let's just truck through this, and that's what allowed me to finish it, because I didn't have to deal with the dumb parts for very long. And then of course you had the suspense moments that like carried me, like I would go from one moment to the other. But I wanted to show you guys the cover of the next one because it's called Eagle. And again, this isn't one of the ones it was like I'm looking forward to, but it's got like he goes undercover, and for me that's the intriguing part of the plot. So this is Eagle book 2. So I'm at 2 out of 14.
Do you plan on reading? So, question, do you plan on reading all of them, even if the blurb doesn't catch your attention?
I'm going to give Eagle a chance, and if this one has something that, like, okay, like, if this is going to be, like, a 2 or 3 star book for me, I'm probably not going to finish it, but I'm going to jump to the ones I want to read. Yeah, because there's this character named Dorian, who is another one of the guys in the first book, and he, like, spends a lot of time alone, and he was captured overseas, but we don't know what he went through, and he likes to be alone, and he is, like, such an intriguing side character, and there's a few other ones that like stand out that I want to know what their story is. So if Eagle doesn't work out, I'm probably going to jump to the ones I want to read and just not read them in order and not read the ones that don't catch my interest, especially because I don't know because the blurb of the first book didn't match the book. It's not because it's like he wants to protect her, but what if the greatest threat to her is himself? It's like that plot is resolved halfway through the book, so the greatest threat to her was actually the guy who was attacking her. So if I keep going through these books and the blurbs don't match the books, and they're like not what I'm expecting, or they're all kind of like dumb, basically, I'm just going to jump to the ones I want and give them a chance and then go from there. But so that's the plan right now. I'm kind of hoping to get this one done in October, so that way at least I knocked 2 books out, but I don't know. I'm like 7%. I'm on page 14 out of 266 because
so far are you liking it?
Yeah, I like it. He's got a son. He's got a son, and I like the whole single parent trope. Especially single dads. Like I don't know, like my parents were divorced, so like I don't like, but for me, single dad, like good single dads who are taking care of their kids, I like that trope. And his son has some sort of mental, like I don't know if he's dyslexic or what else, but he's like slower.
Some kind of disorder.
And I don't know what happened to his wife or why he didn't know he had a son. So there's that aspect. Yeah. And then I don't know what's going on between him and I think her name was Charlotte or Charlie. So
there's a lot of questions, a lot of mystery are surrounding him. So
plus his undercover mission. Which they've set up the action for that. And I just don't know how he decides to go undercover, but they've set up kind of the backstory of like these guys with these arms. He's like in trafficking and arms dealing and drugs and stuff, the bad guy is. So they have their old army commander showed up, and they just had a meeting, like they just got out of the meeting with their army commander, even though they're not in the army anymore. So that I like really love that kind of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But so hopefully we're getting closer to the end of October, though. It's I can't believe November's almost here.
Thursday is it. Thursday's going to be interesting, and then we've got a huge day at school on Friday, so it's like this week is going to be fast. Yeah,
I'm prepping for Nano, so for me and any author who's doing Nano, we're all like scrambling to get our books and our plans together.
I've seen so many clips on Instagram and TikTok of like, have you seen those like the videos where it shows like the clip, like this clip from another character, like of like a person dancing all weirdly, and then it's like Feliz Navidad in the background, and it says as soon as November 1st hits, and it has like a Christmas tree, like green screen picture of a Christmas tree, like Christmas tree decorated, living room, and I'm like, I've been sending them to Mom, and I'm like, this is gonna be Mimi on November 1st.
Yes,
Like it's gonna happen.
totally. I know Michael's like my husband is like, you can't get into Christmas until after Thanksgiving, and I'm like, yeah. Well,
I saw one girl.
When you're in choir and theater, you prepare for Christmas in October.
Starts in like October.
Yeah,
like Christmas starts in October.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, I'm just.
Yeah, and I saw there was
go ahead.
And it was something about what was I gonna say? Oh, it's gone. Never mind.
I hate that. It's like I have to take notes about my notes now because like the other day I literally was going to add something to my to-do list to remind me to do something and I forgot what that was. So it's like I have to have a reminder about my reminders at this point.
I leave sticky notes everywhere.
Yeah.
Like at school, like at home. It's like if I don't have a pad of sticky notes somewhere, then I'm in trouble of forgetting a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I get it. I've been using the Finch app since you introduced it to me.
Oh, yes, I love it. Like I've been making events on my calendar too. Like even if it's like pay my bills or go to the doctor or you need to do this today or like because I'm going to do the $So City tickets again. So I'm like, a season pass. So I'm like, pay that by Thursday because the cheaper price is gone. So it's like gotta leave sticky notes for everything.
Yes. But yeah, we will check in with you guys on October 31st unless something else major happens that we need to talk about between now and then. But we will hope you guys are enjoying watching us go through the October TBR challenge. So this has been fun. Yeah, I want to do one where I actually stick with my original and I don't get derailed.
We'll have to set one up in November. We'll have to set one up for November. Yeah. Or if you want to, with NaNoWriMo, if you want to do like a December one instead, it doesn't really matter.
I think December would be fun for sure. Either way, because like Christmas. So like, what are we gonna read this Christmas? Because I always try to set up all my social media, my writing, so that I can take December off, even though you know me, I'm not going to. So it's like I'd have more free time for reading, hypothetically. Yeah. Especially after Nana, it'd be nice to take a break. But for sure. So we will check in with you guys next time. So see ya.
Yeah.
So this is our October check-in for our October TBR. It's Halloween, October 31st.
Yes.
So happy Halloween.
Spooky day.
Yep. Even though you guys are watching this in November, but that's fine. It's just been a couple of weeks. I had to have time to edit this thing, okay?
Close. It's close-ish. It'll work.
Yep. So we have a lot to catch up on both sides, but especially my side because I've been through some stuff these last couple of days when it comes to the books that I've been reading. So, long story short, I did rate the other book, Cyclone, 2 stars on the websites. Okay. And I'd filmed my review and all that stuff. I tried book 2, which was Eagle, as you can see right there. And I got into it, or I got like a little bit far into it, like in terms of not my interest, but what am I trying to say? Like the length or whatever. And she was like an outcast, and she's like, I wish I wasn't an outcast and I could fit in with these girls that are at the bar drinking. And then immediately after they invited her to drink, so I was like, well, the outcast thing didn't last very long. And then they look over and she sees her ex there. And she's like, I'm going to leave. I have something to do. So she makes an excuse and leaves the bar. And he follows her out there. And they get into this fight because he's like, why are you following me? Why do you want to be a tutor? I'm like, you followed her out to the car, you moron. And then,
I was going to say, seems kind of backwards there.
Yeah. And then I'm like, and she could open her door and just leave, right? But instead she just stands there and lets him yell at her. And he's just asking her all, and he's like, why are you being a tutor? And she's like, is it a sin for me to do something that I love? And he's like, sin. I thought about that a lot when I was together with you. And then he kisses her and they have this intense makeout session that gets really spicy. And I skimmed through it. And by the time it was over, he's like, you want to come inside and hang out? And I'm like, no, I'm done with it. Like, no, after all this angst, after how much he hates her, like in his perspective, I was like, this is just cringe. So I gave up on the series. I gave all the books back and I got a refund.
That's bad. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So they moved him out of my Kindle, but I did find on the author's website she has a non-steamy version. So I was too curious to see the difference.
How's that
going? I bought the second book, the non-steamy version. It comes off as a little less cringy, but as far as the makeout session thing, it was no less spicy.
Yeah.
So Essentially I gave up on it and I started this one because this was on my October TBR list, and I got to page 36 last night. And I'm really into it, and it's also making me want to play Skyrim, so I made it Skyrim Vampire. I haven't played the vampire storyline in a while.
I remember I told you, I described it as like Hunger Games with Dark Brotherhood mixed with the Dawn Guard.
Yep,
like the vampires from Dawn Guard. It's like
Skyrim
all
is gonna be.
It's like
yeah, my vampire in
like
Skyrim is gonna be in the Dark Brotherhood too, because I'm like, that is the total vibe. So I really like it. I would say to me, it's like a dark urban fantasy. A dark urban fantasy that's also kind of gothic. Okay. And I really like it. It's not like heavy-handed, and it's just
unique from what I've read.
It's unique. It definitely gives me ACOTAR vibes a little bit, but like just the aspect that they have wings and they're really shadowy and stuff. Yeah. But the race building is really cool. Yeah. And they're definitely setting up right where I'm at. She's getting ready to do this thing called the Kajari, and it's like this Hunger Games thing, like you said. Yeah. And I love her because I think I figured out my issue with some of the Throne of Glass chick and some other chicks. It's when they're arrogant. I didn't pick up on the arrogance bugs me, because I like strong female leads because I write them sometimes, but it's the way that it's done, and I don't like them being arrogant about their skills. I think I like I don't know. It's just weird, but I like her.
I can see that though.
Yeah,
that would be definitely a.
Also, an extra thing, I love the headers. Like, the headers change for the section of the book, so this is part 1.
Yes.
And the interior formatting is good. And can I just say, the writing style is so beautiful, and I haven't found any mistakes. It's refreshing to read a well-written story. Like, even like Sarah J. Maas, I love her, but her writing style still has editing things that just flash out at me. And this is really smooth to read. My only problem is I'm not in a fantasy mood right now, but like, again, it's getting me into it because I'm in a Skyrim mood, so it kind of crosses more over with Skyrim. But I did find another military romance series, so if we do a November thing, that's the first one, Pages of Promise. I got the sample. And it's Christian, so hopefully that would be good. Yeah. But yeah, so this is where I'm at. I wish I could have finished it before today or before tomorrow, like for my final October book, but I can't. So for October, the only thing I read was Cyclone, and it was a 2-star book, so I'm sorely disappointed. But I did read my Mystic series, so if that counts, I read, and I think that's good, but that's just me. So what's been going on with you? I know you finished a book.
Okay. So one of my main goals was to make sure I at least finished Immortal, because I know that with your release dates coming out, I wanted to at least have my ARC review posted on Goodreads and such. So I finished that. It took a few weeks. Like, the first chunk of my private videos are me talking about it. Still in this one. Got past this era. Yeah. But eventually I got it. And like, once I know that, I don't mean this in a bad way, but once I kind of got over a certain hump, it was really easy to just do my normal pacing on reading and finish it. Because I have a habit of, when I get to a certain point in a book, I will just like hyper focus on that and speed read it and finish it.
Yeah, I get that.
Not like speedy, because I was a struggling reader for a long time, so I don't read fast. But like, I am able to I create the scenes in my head when I read, so that's where it's like I dive headfirst into the story. So like, it's really interesting comparing my perspective on books and yours. And I think this is why we have so much fun doing these kinds of things. And like why we'll probably continue doing this, is because you come from a technical writer editor POV. Mine is purely reading, purely for entertainment. I don't have any background other than the fact that I'm a teacher. I teach middle school. So it's like, you never know what you're going to read, but I don't have that technical training of like editing a full-size novel and looking intricately for all those different things. Like, I understand basic grammar. I can help kids with grammar and that kind of thing and fix things and tell them where they need to fix stuff. But it's like, I'm never going to be to the level without years of training. I won't be at the level you are. And so my brain doesn't go to that. Yeah. And so it's like it's just, and so it's like, I think it's part of the reason, like, all the books that I've completed, I've given them all 5 stars so far, and I sometimes I feel like I'm too willing to give 5 stars. But when you come from a person that was told I can't read certain books because they're not on my level in elementary school, to being somebody that can read because I want to, and I can read whatever I want.
Yeah.
And nobody tells me that I can't read it because it's not on my level, then it's like, I love every book that I read, even if the character is purely like very predictable. And like, and sometimes I will go back later after I've had some time away from that book and kind of reevaluate how I felt about it. Because there's definitely times like when we were reading ACOTAR, like the first rating that I give book 1 changed at least like 1 or 2 times. And in my review, I go into detail as to why I ultimately changed my overall rating and my thought process behind of why I changed it. Yeah. Because it's like, I'm almost like a giddy little kid that I finish a story and I'm like, oh, that was such a good book. Yeah. 5-star, you know? And then over time, I'll be like, I honestly really liked book 2 way more than book 1. So I would probably give book 1 a 4-star and give book 2 a 5-star because it's like the story just expanded so much more and there was so much more character development in book 2 than there was book 1. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like,
I know for me, like, I tend to think that I'm like, I rate every book 5 stars, but it's like the reason why I do it, which is totally different from you, is the reason why I do it is because I don't read books if they're not entertaining. So I'm probably never going to actually have a book I rate 1 star because guess what? I didn't finish it. And if I don't finish a book, I don't feel like I have the right to rate it because I don't have the whole context. I do appreciate that. Yeah, and because so for me, some people will just rate things. If I read a book, that means it's at least 3 stars, right? If I read it and finished it, that means it's at least 3 stars. So for Cyclone, when I rated it 2 stars, I'm like, man, this is like the lowest rating book I've ever had. But I finished it because there was still that suspenseful plot, and I really wanted to rate it higher. But man, that slump of that romance was so hard to get through. Yeah. If it hadn't had the suspense, I would have given up on it, and it would have been a DNF. Yeah. So it's like it's really different. Perspectives on that, and I really like it. Yeah. But honestly, so I still want to do a November TBR, but I've had a lot of fun. Yes, we need to. Yes. Okay, so I want to quickly go over a couple of the books I did read. You started book 1, The Serpent and the Wings of Night. That's book 1. I read that one. It's going to bug me if I don't check to see when I read that, what month I read that one. I think that was August, September. I'm wanting to say when I read book 1. So I had taken a step away from book 1 purely because one particular character made me mad and I boycotted it for like a month. And then I'm like, you know what? That's not fair of me. I need to go back and read them. Well, what caused me to go back and continue reading is I found this gem at a Target. Nice. You know, I can't go to certain locations without stopping at Target to get Starbucks and browsing the book section. Yep, so, I get it. I found this one. It's the 6 Scorched Roses. It's like a short novel in the world, but it's about characters that are introduced for the first time in book 2, which they are definitely described as. She advertises it as like side characters. I would definitely say that they're side characters for sure. But I absolutely love their story. And if you haven't picked up on the title, it's like a Beauty and the Beast. I'm a sucker for kind of retelling. It's kind of. It's not like a. I hate saying retelling, but it's like because retelling makes it sound like they're just saying it's inspired by Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. I mean, it essentially is, but it's a better retelling than ACOTAR is with Beauty and the Beast, if that makes sense. One, because there's vampires instead of fae. I love a good fae. Don't get me wrong. I love fae. I'm kind of over that hump a little bit. I love ACOTAR, and I will read the next book when it comes out. I'm sure it will get me back in the mood. But I'm definitely into like vampire-y type stuff at the moment. See, that's the thing. Before this book, I had fallen out of vampires, and I reread my Mystic series, and I kind of did a bunch of stuff. So I was like, man, the Mystic series hasn't been published yet, or is everybody over vampires? And like this gives me hope that no, not everybody's over vampires yet. But it's like they is the new thing, and like I feel like what tires me out is the same tropes repeated over and over again. It's like Sarah J. Maas did it, but like everybody else who does it afterwards, unless you have a new take on it, it's just gonna feel like copy and paste. And so I would say part of it does come off as like, okay, a fae version of vampires, or a vampire version of fae, I think is what I meant. But it's also urban fantasy, and it's like gothic kind of. It's not medieval. Yeah. It's more. I would say it's more gothic.
And you're early enough. You're early enough in the story that it kind of comes off that way. Mm-hmm. You're early enough in the story that it kind of comes off that way. I think once you keep going, and once you get into book 2, that's when it's really going to hit and be like, hey, this is like not the same.
Well, I'm not saying it. I'm just saying as a writer, I can see where inspiration's pulled from, and it's like it's got it's really similar to certain
as a unit. It has its own.
That's why
it holds its own.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It almost feels like it doesn't follow those same tropes word for word, like point by point. It kind of like branches off into its own direction, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's got really creative. I really, really love the world building. And honestly, like, I think part of it is when you're going into a book, if you have fae, your brain thinks of other fae books. If you have vampires, your brain thinks of other vampire books. And so for vampires to have houses or clans or courts is new, because a lot of people don't do vampire courts or houses. Like, I've had one that did. I edited one that was like vampire court. So it was like ACOTAR, but with vampires. So you do find that sometimes, but it's really creative. Yeah. And then it has this gothic, I can't even describe, it may not even be gothic, maybe I'm thinking wrong, but it has this like urban fantasy gothic feel to it that's like really fun. And it's dark. When I say dark, I mean like not dark as in evil, but like dark as in like, I don't know, gothic. You know what I mean? It's not like bad.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm really enjoying about it. And I gotta say, I'm a sucker, after Fourth Wing especially, I'm becoming a sucker for the girl who is tough or strong in one aspect or one way, but like is probably not going to survive or is weak because she's surrounded by people who are stronger than her. I'm tired of the strong female lead trope.
That is exactly what this series is.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm like,
you have no idea.
Because like in Fourth Wing, it's because she's got that bone disease problem, and in this one, it's because she's a human surrounded by vampires. And so it's like, don't give me a strong female lead. Give me a girl who's got to fight through, heck, to get just to survive or make it or live or whatever.
And that's where, when you have a female, like, or any character that starts out that way, and like over the course of the book, you can see huge character development within the character.
Yeah.
Just purely because they're beginning to like be like, okay, hey, the fact that I'm a human is not bad. Like the fact that they're attracted to my blood is not, it's like, yeah, it's there, but it's like, that's not going to keep holding me back forever. Like it has that like coming to them, like, coming to the, I forget the term I'm thinking of, but it's like you see that growth over time.
Yeah. And I think what appeals to that, at least for me, from my perspective, and I'm assuming a lot of readers do agree with that, is that it starts them off more relatable because, hey, we're just average girls. Like, I couldn't go in there and survive. Like, I know fighting styles. I was in Taekwondo. I'm not going to be able to hold my own against anything, okay? Much less some creature or monster or anything like that. But it starts them off in a relatable position, and then it's that story that we can live vicariously through them, like where they grow to survive or live in this thing. And I think that's why when all of us was like a younger generation, why Hunger Games, Divergent, all those were so popular, is because it had that same vibe. It's just in this case, we're all growing up, and
they were strong
it's changed
in one way
from like traditional YA to like adult fantasy. Like without
it
too much
grows with us.
stuff.
It's growing with us.
Yeah,
it's growing with us for sure.
Yeah, so I think it really appeals.
Yeah. All right. So it was a really short book, but honestly, I feel like it tells a complete story, and it's so sweet, and it's quirky, and it's like the main girl kind of reminds me of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, she's very logical, and I love that. And it's like, it's almost like she's almost socially awkward in a way. And it's like, it's genuinely sweet, but there's like some tension there, and there's a little bit of mystery sprinkled in. Like, there's mystery there too, but it's like, she doesn't take a whole 600 pages to tell a story. And I think for these particular characters, that fits really well.
Right.
So like for the two main characters, it's like she needed 2 whole books.
Yeah.
To get their story across, but for these characters, it's like their story's different. And it's like, they don't need an entire novel to tell their story, and it's like I kind of appreciate that a little bit.
So what's your
like
star
how
rating?
the diversity of her characters? I give all the books I've read this month 5 stars, but like I said, that might change over time. But honestly, genuinely, this was a gem to read. I loved it.
That's good.
Like it's so sweet. It's like has the sprinkles of sweetness, sprinkles of like are they going to die? Like what's going to happen here? Like like there's like is what's going to happen what I think is going to happen?
Yeah.
And then there's like little twists that I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that person to be behind this situation, or like there's little twists there, and I just like that.
Yeah. So your next book,
and then
so you actually finished your October TBR for the most part.
I finished half of it. I finished 2. Well, I don't know if I want to count Immortal as my true TBR because I started it
before
in
October.
September.
Yeah. So you got 2 out of. We'll say 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Like 2. I technically had 4, but. So I'm going to say I got half of the list.
That seems fair.
Which for me, I feel like it's a success, even though one of them is short.
Yeah.
But
meanwhile, I got one that wasn't even
originally
on my list, but I got partway through this one. So
book 2, book 1 ends on a honestly, it makes me think of some of your plot twists that you've written into your stories because book 1 ends on a major plot twist.
Yeah,
and it's like.
It's scaring me.
I can't
tell where this is going to go.
I can't say anything.
I know, don't say anything, but I
need your genuine reaction.
I can't, because in ACOTAR, I couldn't tell. I had no idea she was going to become Fae, so that struck me as, spoilers for ACOTAR, by the way, that struck me as surprising. And so in this one, it's like in Twilight, she eventually became a vampire. That was a major tension in there. And no, I'm not comparing this to Twilight. 2 completely different things. I'm just saying. That's the first vampire thing that came to my head. I can't tell if she's going to end up becoming a vampire or not, and if that's the direction they're going to go. And I'm really, really, really early on, so I have no idea. I think at the ball, she may have just met the main dude, but I still don't know. It was just a handsome guy over in the shadows looking at a painting, so I can't predict anything right now. So anyways.
I gotta fix my face.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. That's why I put my book over my face, and I'm like,
no poker face. So just put the book.
I don't have a poker face at all, man. I literally almost let it slip, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, I cannot say that intrusive thought. It's not really intrusive thought. It was like I almost just dropped this comment that would have been a major bombshell, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, I can't say that. I can't.
I'm like, all right, that's all I gotta say.
That's all I gotta say. Anyway, but also I have to appreciate, I have to show you this. Literally, the actual hardcover of this is absolutely stunning. By the way,
that is beautiful. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, I love it.
That's beautiful.
Love is a sacrifice at the altar of power, and I'm like, it's so cool.
What a quote!
But I would say, I don't know. Honestly, the Carissa Broadbent. I'm hoping I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Carissa.
Honestly,
Broadbent.
She does a really good job of writing a duology while also keeping it open for more books.
Mm-hmm.
Their story came to a really cool conclusion, but at the same time, there's the future, there's a possibility of a dark future, Mm-hmm. And it's that's interesting. And it's I was reading about book 3, and book 3 starts a new duology within this whole universe, this whole series, about a different character that we've already met, I think. I'm thinking it's a character that we've already met. And it's but it's the start of another duology. And I'm like, but the main characters are still going to be major. You're going to see major things happen with those same main characters, though. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, it's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm enjoying it.
That's exciting.
And it's I'm excited for the next one. And the next one comes out next month, by the way, book 3 does.
Nice. So you don't have to wait long.
So that might be on my TBR list for November.
Yeah.
Even though I don't actually have the copy yet. Yeah. But, yeah. So.
Okay, I was trying to get my Kindle.
And I'm starting this one, so this might be on my November TBR, Empire of Storms. I'm thinking it might be.
Okay.
I'm kind of slowly getting back into it. I don't hate it. and I'm kind of getting interested into it again. I'm not looking forward to running into reading about from certain POVs. I'm just there's certain POVs that I'm just not looking forward to reading. So I'm kind of still on the fence about it, but I do want to continue reading it.
Yeah,
because there are the couple characters that I have read, because I got a little bit read today. The characters that I have read, I'm weirdly shipping them.
Huh.
And I wasn't shipping them before.
Right.
But now I kind of am.
That's really cool.
And I can kind of see that relationship building a little bit, or like it's hinting at that. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I could get into this a little bit. So I'm open. I'm open to it.
That's really cool.
So
I'm excited, but like I've still got the whole Throne of Glass slump. I did try reading it. I gave it a fair chance. I will come back to it at some point, but I just don't think it's right now.
Yeah, I honestly don't see you. I was seriously concerned about you getting through the first couple ones because I thought it was slow.
Well, so far the plot doesn't seem slow because it seems like it has high stakes. I'm just having a problem connecting with the main girl, and I can't read books I don't connect with the characters on. Like that's where I honestly I think you may need to read The Assassin's Blade first. I may try it if it helps me get into it, because I know this is going to be a good series because I've heard so many people love it, and I want to get there. I just got to get through the slump of starting it, but yeah. I honestly think what might help. I know this is like a debate amongst the Throne of Glass fans. That are like, a lot of people are like, oh, you need to read Assassin's Blade like third or fourth. I forget where they want you to read it in. But it's like, for me, I have to read things in chronological order. Like, I still haven't read the main, like, Lord of the Rings trilogies. I've read The Hobbit, but I haven't read any of the main trilogy ones because the Silmarillion and all of the First and Second Age stuff comes chronologically before the Third Era. So it's like, in my head, I want to have read all of that stuff and have a running knowledge of what happens then before I read the main three, because I feel like there's little things that it's going to hint on. I'm going to mention that I'm like, oh, I know that scene. I know that battle. I know that, like, the hidden city, like the hidden city that was destroyed and had Belrogs destroying it. Spoiler alert, by the way. But I know that. And that was really cool. And that's the problem I ran into with this.
And it's like with Assassin's Blade
was like I could have jumped to the ones that I liked, but like I had to start at book 1 and book 1 and 2. And so maybe it gets better, but like I'll never know because I just couldn't get through the first 2. So I totally get that.
And it's for that reason that I read Assassin's Blade first. One, it's a series of novellas, so they're quick reads. They're several novellas, several short stories all together in one book. And so it's like several stories following her, but as you progress through the stories, the progression of the stories tell us a story on its own.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And it's like you see, like, there's so much that happens to her in that first book that it will make you feel for her pretty quickly. And so when you go into the Throne of Glass, you have that knowledge in the background about her character already, and like what she's been through already. And it's like, I feel like if you're struggling to really connect with her, that might be something to think about. Yeah,
I may try that. I can't get past her arrogance. She's just too arrogant and I can't stand it. And so maybe that'll help. It may be something to go toward in the future, but I think for now I'm really excited about this series. So it's like my brain is kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited for you to read that one too.
So thank you guys for watching. What did you guys read for October? Let us know in the comments below. And if you read anything that we've mentioned, let us know in the comments what you guys think. If you agree, disagree, whatever. And in the meantime, if you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more writing and reading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you liked seeing us together, then check out our 24-hour reading challenge where we attempted to read for 24 hours.
That's the key word there.
That'll be here on the screen. So check that out. You don't want to miss it. It was a little fun and a lot of shenanigans.